Chapter 603, Granny Meng Ghost Wine. Obtaining this match had taken no effort. This was the first thought that Xianyu had. On the road here, he had listened to Princess Xia and the others continuously praise Xiao Emogu and had long placed him on the list of people he had to stomp down. He had not expected this drunkard to be Xiao Emogu. Were the heavens looking favorably upon him? Xianyu felt as though his blood was boiling. Due to being too excited, his body actually shook slightly. Under the eyes of the public, in front of Princess Xia, the exhilaration of crushing a genius that could cause the shifting star stand. Xianyu's smile was like a predator that had found its prey. He licked his lips, the light deep in his eyes filled with murderousness, bloodthirst, savagery, and anticipation. It made him excited just thinking about it. So you are Xiao Emogu. Do you dare to go up and spar? He forcibly suppressed the excitement and urge to fight inside. Like an experienced hunter, he tossed out his lure that had been prepared long before. Zuomo's mind was a blur. The drunkenness roiled in his chest like a ball of fire. This ball of fire seemed to want to combust in his body. He felt as though each muscle was burning, like firewood soaked in oil. There seemed to be several fireballs on his chest and back. So hot. So thirsty. Xianyu's figure seemed to be both near and far, clear one moment and blurry the next. Zuomo's eyes were drunken and his mind unfocused. This wine really was strong. Xianyu, you really do not have face. You are bullying Xiao Emogu while he is drunk. What? You want to play? This one will accompany you. Lan Rong said coldly. Today, Xiao Emogu had humiliated Xianyu. If the two fought, Xiao Emogu definitely would not end up well. As for himself, while it would be slightly embarrassing, but unless the Shen family wanted to start an open feud with the Lan family, Xianyu would not dare to take his life. So at this time, Lan Rong unhesitatingly stood up. A strange smile floated on Xianyu's face. Lan Rong, don't think too highly of yourself. This is Xiao Emogu's matter. When was it your turn to decide? He then shouted, Xiao Emogu, do you dare? Xianyu's eyes were dark and cold. People who were drunk were the most impulsive and easiest to provoke. He did not believe that Xiao Emogu would be unaffected at this time. In a daze, Zuomo suddenly heard a little Emogu, do you dare? A thread of clarity suddenly returned among the burning fire. So thirsty, so hot. He suddenly raised the wine jar in his hand and gulped down, uncaring of the wine that spilled down his neck. The cool feeling of the wine sliding across his skin caused him to feel a thread of pleasure. In one go, he drank the remaining wine. Then he glared at Xianyu and smashed the wine jar onto the ground. When Xianyu saw Zuomo drink furiously out of the wine jar, he was overjoyed inside. When he saw Zuomo finish all the remaining wine in one go and stare hatefully at him, he wanted to laugh. He had seen drunkards before. Those that drank would all look like this. They would be clumsy in tongue and move roughly. Such a group of idiots. He had succeeded. As expected, he heard Zuomo smash the wine jar onto the ground. A shout rang through the entire hall. What are we betting? Xianyu's expression froze on his face. This was not the same as he had imagined. He reflexively asked, what do you mean betting? The surroundings became silent again. Their thinking was just like Xianyu. They had all thought that Zuomo would say dare? I dare. Who knew that Zuomo had skipped that and moved on to the gamble? Those with slow responses did not manage to react. Country bumpkin. Zuomo's eyes were filled with disdain. His speech was slurred and drunken. He really looked down at Xianyu now. No wonder he didn't even have 50 mo bay. He used the last thread of kindness he had and advised Xianyu, without any benefit, it is very stupid to fight. Country bumpkin. Tendons bulged in Xianyu's forehead. He had never been scorned like this by someone right to his face. He saw Lan Rong forcing back a smile out of the corner of his eye. The other was almost unable to hold it, and his expression was twisted strangely. He could imagine the expressions of the people behind him that were watching. Princess Xia. I will tolerate. Xiao Emogu already entered his trap. If he added some more pressure, Xiao Emogu would not be able to escape death today. What do you want? Xianyu suppressed the anger inside and asked, stopping after each word. Zuermo could still see Princess Xia's face. He remembered that he needed to find this woman for a matter. But what matter was it? He couldn't remember. He hit his head. Fine, it was fine if he did not remember, but he did have something to ask her about. He pointed at Princess Xia and said, "I want her." When the 3 words came out, the entire hall was so silent that the sound of a needle dropping to the ground could be heard. Everyone was shocked by these 3 words. Their mouths gaped and their faces were full of disbelief. Who dared to say in front of Princess Xia that he wanted her? Heavens! This was too impolite. Too impolite. The young masters that were in love with Princess Xia shifted. Someone swore, "You dare! You dare to be so impolite to Princess Xia? Are you tired of living? Don't lose your senses after drinking a few mouthfuls of wine." Hearing the enraged words behind his back, Xinyu had an increasingly smug expression. He spread his hands and acted apologetic. Zuermo finally realized. So she isn't your woman. No wonder. You do not even have 50 mo bay to put down as a starting bet. Don't bully me for being drunk. You think that I am as stupid as you? So stupid? Xinyu felt his head swell up. He had not expected the development of the matter to progress outside conventional pathways. Also, the anger inside could not be suppressed after Zuermo kept on saying he was so stupid. An amused look flashed through Princess Xia's eyes. She suddenly spoke, "If you win, I will promise to accompany you for 1 day." When the words came out, the people descended into noise. Xinyu was overjoyed. It seemed that Princess Xia felt something for him. Otherwise, she would not be lending a helping hand twice in succession. He decided inside he would not fail Princess Xia's good intentions. Zuermo could not remember what matter he had to find Princess Xia about. He just felt that his body was intensely burning. His eyes were red and seemed to be glimmering with blood. Xinyu wanted to crush Zuermo into powder immediately. He asked in a murderous voice, "Are you satisfied now?" Zuermo felt as though his entire body was filled with flames and a strong viciousness filled his body. "Come." His voice seemed to come through the thick fire and carried an indescribable restlessness. Xinyu did not waste words. To the challenge area. As this was the residence of the great Peace City Master, there naturally was a stadium. Though it was not as large as the stadium outside the palace, the Jinji placed on it were not lacking. One was the genius Xinyu, who had been famous for many years and was considered the Shen family's most outstanding genius in the last 200 years. The other was Xiao Mo, who had come out of nowhere, caused the shifting star sands, and placed on the Great Peace Mo ranking. Adding on Princess Xia's tempting prize, this fight attracted the attention of everyone at the party. "Should we stop them?" a servant asked. Shi Yue smiled and waved his hand. "No need, just watch. It is rare to have such a heated atmosphere." Because Shi Yue never cultivated a Mo spell, his face already seemed old. His hair was gray and white and it hung down naturally. The wrinkles on his face were faint but clear. He smiled from beginning to end as though everything was under his control. What was most attractive about him was his eyes that flashed with an intelligent and wise light. It would cause people to unconsciously submit. Suddenly, a black-robed male and a dark shadow appeared next to Shi Yue. They sat down without any courtesy and then started to eat and drink. The one in the black robe was Yu Shuang and the dark shadow was Chang Yuanhao. "Who does City Master favor?" the black-robed male asked Shi Yue. Shi Yue asked softly, "What about you?" Yu Shuang thought and then responded, "Xinyu, the Peacock King Mo bloodline of the Shen family has its unique aspects. Xinyu has also been in general level for a long time and has the Peacock King Mo physique. After so many years, he should have progressed." Shi Yue turned to look at Chang Yuanhao in the shadow. Chang Yuanhao said, "Xiao Mo Gu." Yu Shuang was slightly shocked. "You actually favor Xiao Mo Gu?" Intuition. Chang Yuanhao did not stop. The food on the table disappeared at a visible rate into the dark shadow. "You are not a woman," Yu Shuang said, unconvinced. However, he thought inside, this good friend of his did not speak much, but he was usually right. Shi Yue smiled slightly and said, "Let's watch. I feel great anticipation about the power of the Granny Meng Ghost Wine." Granny Meng Ghost Wine. Yu Shuang and the dark shadow paused simultaneously. Yu Shuang asked in a stammer, "How much has he drank?" Shi Yue had his usual smile. 16 jars. Yu Shuang gaped, his expression frozen on his face as though he had seen a ghost. In the corner, Lan Tianlong, who had drunk 3 jars of Granny Meng ghost wine, was completely drunk. Zhou Mo felt his entire body was burning and he was inside a ball of fire. Even the things he saw seemed to twist in the waves of heat. Really was strong? That country bumpkin. Zhou Mo looked with drunken eyes at Xinyu. His body was filled with hot fire that was on the verge of overflowing. Within this terrifying fire, Zhou Mo felt a thread of mad exhilaration. There seemed to be something that was being dissolved by the flames and flowed out of the fire. This thing flowed into his head. However, his consciousness was almost completely clouded now. He wanted to examine and see what those things were, but he could not seem to find the energy. The murderousness on Xin Ye's face was undisguised now. When they were on the battlefield, the power of life and death would be on his hands. He didn't just have to win, he had to win beautifully. Only so would he leave a deeper impression on Princess Xia. He slowly walked towards Zhou Mo, step by step, unhurried and composed. The 5-colored Mo matrix on his body was like feathers that appeared and grew. When the crown of the peacock appeared on his forehead, his eyes were completely icy. Zhou Mo suddenly raised his head. His blood-filled eyes were like that of a wild beast that flashed with a bloodthirsty light. He raised his right hand. Chapter 604, Peacock Icebot Domain. As Zhou Mo raised his right hand, the vast fire inside his body flowed like lava. Any kind of collision of the flows of energy would create bright sparks. A strong pain burned every one of Zhou Mo's nerves. The world twisted in his vision as though there were waves of heat. Shen Ye's body became unstable. His position looked extremely strange. His right hand was raised, his body leaning slightly forward as though he was preparing to run. He grinned, raised his right leg and then suddenly stomped on the ground. Like an arrow leaving the bow, he charged. His body was off balance as he was leaning forward to the point that he was almost parallel to the ground. His 2 legs rapidly alternating as he accelerated. Bang! On the 7th step, with a sound like that of a whip, a white spherical ball of air suddenly exploded around him. Sonic boom! Zhou Mo's body suddenly became blurry. Other than the screams of some females, many in the audience hardly reacted as they had seen Zhou Mo's fight with Miao Jun. They all knew that Zhou Mo could create a sonic boom, and the sonic boom was not a powerful move. It was only rare because it required a high degree of balance in all aspects. In reality, many experts were shaking their heads inside. Using such an ordinary and uncreative attacking method was not enough against Xinyu. Zhou Mo did not know the thoughts of the audience. He only felt that his body was burning fiercely, and he was going to melt. His legs moved even more quickly as though he wanted to vent the rampaging flood inside his body. With every step he used all of his strength. His mind dazed, what was left was only his fighting instincts. At this time, another clear bang sounded out. Pia! A spherical ball of white mist suddenly exploded around Zhou Mo's body. This was the 12th step. There were 5 steps between the 2 spherical balls of mist. Bam bam bam, many chairs fell to the floor. Many people who had been shaking their heads suddenly stood up with shocked expressions. A second sonic boom. It was a double sonic boom. Achieving a sonic boom was very rare already, but a double sonic boom was so rare that it was the first time many people were seeing it. The first sonic boom meant that the body had broken free of the restraint of the air. The second sonic boom came from the body vibrating at such a rapid rate that they caused an implosion of the air around them. A double sonic boom would form an area of empty space around the person's body. All movements would be at their fastest and not face any resistance. Other than needing the balance of their entire body to create a sonic boom, it required a great power in the body in order to form the second. In other words, every one of Zhou Mo's muscles were quivering at an imperceptible rate. So hot. Within the crimson eyes, the scenery that passed seemed to slow down. He could not hear the noise from the outside. The rampaging fire seemed to roar inside and spread across his body. He was like a wounded wild beast sprinting at full strength. The MO matrix of the 10-crow celestial apparatus was extremely bright at this moment. The 3 suns on his back and the sun at his chest were furiously absorbing the hot fire inside his body. But the vast fire seemed to be an endless ocean. Even if the 4 suns were like 4 enormous whirlpools and absorbed the hot fire, the raging fire did not lessen. The sun crystal seed spun even faster. The entire sea of fire started to become restless, as it sensed a threat from the spinning sun crystal seed. Boom! The restlessness of the fire sea spread to every bone of Zhuomo's body, every muscle fiber. They vibrated simultaneously. Suddenly, something indistinct seemed to float out in his mind. Zhuomo's eyes widened suddenly like a wild beast. Xinyu looked coldly at Xiao Emogu that was charging at him. He was surprised at the double sonic boom but was only surprised. For general level, the ultimate technique was domain. With a peacock crown materialized on his forehead, he looked like a legendary king whose authority looked down on the world. The Peacock King Mo bloodline was noble, just like how the 5-colored Mo matrix on his body was grandiose and brilliant. At this time, Xinye's eyes were cold and dignified. His already handsome face now seemed like a Mo god from the legends. The 5-colored feathers that were extremely beautiful were like a cape or a 5-colored waterfall that fell from his shoulders onto the ground. He stood there silently. His presence was so noble that people could not move their gazes away. All the females in the room could not stop themselves from staring at the prince-like Xinyu. Even Princess Xia showed a thread of dazedness. However, she quickly regained her mental clarity and was very shocked. Xinyu had always tried to show off in front of her, but he had never used all his ability like he was today. Xinyu looked coldly at Zhuomo that was rushing frantically at him and elegantly raised his right hand. The bright 5-colored light was like paint. With him as the center, the colors spread into the surroundings. In a moment, the entire battlefield turned into a multicolored world. Domain. He actually reached domain. People seemed to see something that was impossible to believe. If Zhuomo's double sonic boom had shocked them, then Xinye's domain that he created with a wave of his hand made them suspect that something was wrong with their eyes. Even Chang Yuanhao and Yu Shuang had surprised expressions. It is a pity for Xiao Emogu. Xinyu has cultivated a domain. The young people now really are? Yu Shuang shook his head emotionally. They had heard the reputation of the genius of Xinyu a long time ago. People had to sigh and praise him for entering general level in his teens. But all the praise was so insignificant in front of the multicolored world in front of them. Domain. This was a line that separated the experts from the masses, and a dividing line for whether one could level up further. He was so young, yet he had crossed this benchmark. His future was unlimited and he had a great hope of entering martial level. Many people were adjusting their judgment of the Shun family. Lan Rong's face was ashen as he watched from outside the battlefield. Xinyu had actually obtained domain. Xiao Emogu was in danger. There was no change of expression on Xinye's face, which was as cold and indifferent like the peacock crown that was on his forehead. Peacock eye spot domain. As the others seemed to come closer, Zhuomo suddenly felt the surroundings became difficult to move, as though he had entered a quagmire. Xinyu seemed to grow distant in his vision. The distance between the two increased. In a blink, Xinyu was 100 zhang away. He did not notice that dashes of circular marks like the eye spots on peacock feathers appeared on the ground. They were like strange eyes, or slowly spinning whirlpools. The sticky feeling caused Zhuomo to feel unusually uncomfortable. He was like a wild beast that had charged into a net and was instinctively thrashing about. At this time, something slid across his head and caused him to give a shocking roar. He was like a wounded beast. His body suddenly jumped up, and when he reached the apex, his body shook and became blurry. At the same time, a burning streak of fire pierced the ground from the sky. Zhuomo's fist punched out, causing a long flickering fist of fire to smash into a peacock eye spot on the ground. Boom! The ground shook and the eyes instantly shattered into countless flows of color. But quickly, they flowed back together from all directions like water and reformed back into the eye spots. Xinyu looked indifferently at Zhuomo and was not affected. This kind of damage was ineffective against his peacock eye spot domain. When Zhuomo's fist hit the ground, the sea of fire inside his body suddenly roared. Already savage, Zhuo felt very good. He did not feel the resistance that came from striking with his fist. He did not hesitate and lifted his fist again. As though he was mad, he punched again and again. Boom, boom, boom. The ground continued to tremble, the ice spots shattering under the punches and then reforming. Zhuo did not seem to realize it. He was immersed in an indescribable feeling of pleasure. With every punch, the fire inside seemed to vent into the ground from his body. Everything in his body seemed to be burning furiously. In the stands, Yushuang could not stop himself. This guy really is drunk. 16 jars of ghost wine. Chang Yuan Hao was a few words, but the meaning did not need to be said. This guy is a freak as well. He drank 16 jars of Granny Meng ghost wine and can still fight. How come I wasn't this strong when I was young? Yushuang sighed. He will give us a surprise. Xin Yue suddenly laughed lightly. Yushuang and Chang Yuan Hao stilled simultaneously. Shi Yue, who had always been indifferent, seemed to have eyes which were now flashing with another kind of light as he stared at Xiao Emogu. The two exchanged a look and could see the shock in each other's eyes. City Master never spoke without basis. Did this little guy really have something special? Both felt some anticipation. Their gazes moved towards the battlefield, landing on Xiao Emogu, who was punching the ground in rapid succession. Chang Yuan Hao seemed to have noticed something. HM? Yushuang couldn't help but give a slight sound of surprise. Zhuo furiously punched the ground. He seemed to not know exhaustion, and he used full power in every punch. The ground of the battlefield continued to tremble, and even the guests in the stands could feel it. He completely forgot about Xinyu. In his eyes, there were only the peacock eye spots that repeatedly shattered and reformed. The spinning of the sun crystal seed inside his body reached a shocking rate. It gave off threads of magnetism, and even the 3 suns on his back were slowly pulling at the rampaging sea of fire inside Zhuomo's body. The thing that appeared in Zhuomo's mind slowly became clear. Zhuo, who had lost the ability to think a long time ago, did not think at all. He instinctively changed according to what the thing in his mind said. He punched again and again. But without knowing it, each punch had started to vary in minute changes. The speed that Zhuo punched was very quick. It was a storm that was so rapid, people could not catch it. The tiny changes accumulated under this shocking speed. In a blink, people detected the change in his punches. Chapter 605, Peacock King Plume. Shen Yu gazed indifferently at Zhuo. There wasn't any hint of change in his expression. The peacock eye spot domain was full of variations, and using brute force against it would be of no use at all. Smug satisfaction flashed through his indifferent eyes. Everything within the peacock eye spot domain was within his grasp. He was like a Mo god of the ancient era, standing on top of the highest of peaks and looking at his enemies who were like minuscule ants beneath him. This feeling was so intoxicating. Watching as his opponent smashed the ground like an idiot, a hint of scorn flashed at Xin Ye's lips. How about adding to the fire? A mocking smile hung upon Xin Ye's lips. He raised his right hand again. Suddenly his gaze landed on Zhuomo's right fist, and his smile froze. What was that? Zhuo felt as though a sea of fire was roaring inside of him. The entire sea of fire was being agitated and pulled upon. The little sun crystal seed and the other 3 suns were like an invisible hand that pulled on the entire sea of fire. The blurry scenes that floated in his mind were like silent murmurs that urged Zhuo on. Savagery and restlessness caused Zhuo to be unhesitating with his attacks. He punched down with his right hand like the scene in his mind. Boom! A spark formed between his fist and the ground before floating in the air. None noticed this spark, which was the size of a pin. Even Zhuo did not notice. The sea of fire that was shifting inside his body was like a heavy block of wood being hoisted into the air. Every time he punched, the wood would fall down. The feeling was pleasurable and free. It was as though he could smash through anything. One punch after another. Dots of sparks flew from his fist and floated in the air. No matter how the waves of air moved, they seemed to be suspended motionlessly in the air. The sparks increased in number, and soon everyone noticed it. Still, Zuemo did not notice. The 3 suns on his back seemed to come alive and were revolving at a very slow rate. The golden lines that connected them changed as well. The fiery pillar smashed into Zuemo's right arm every time he punched and stopped when it reached his wrist. Zuemo did not know what this technique was, but its name suddenly appeared in his mind. Sun Hammer. What was that? Zuemo was in an unclear state of mind, but he did not care and followed accordingly. A thread of Shun power exploded into sparks when it encountered the pillar of fire. Drunk, Zuemo felt that the power of this technique wasn't satisfying enough. He tried all he could to layer all kinds of power into his fist. Sky Glass Wave. Shin Power. Fire Fist of the First Heavenly Stem. Sun Hammer. Each punch was changing, becoming heavier. Boom. The ground shook. Boom. The trembling of the earth became even more evident. Soon after, all the tables and chairs started to rattle. The beautiful matrons on the stands screamed and they could feel the stands vibrating. No one paid attention to the screams. They all stared closely at the battlefield. They stopped breathing and didn't dare to blink. The trembling of the earth increased, and the plates on the table clinked. How heavy was Xiao Emoge's fist? In order to guarantee that those outside the field were not affected, there had been layers of Jinji set around the battlefield. Yet the vibrations outside the field were so strong. People could not imagine just how powerful Xiao Emoge's punches were. Such terrifying power. Yu Shuang murmured to himself. His expression changed slightly. This kind of brute force probably rivals those of the Iron Mountain Elephant Clan. Shi Yu's gaze was deep and his tone slightly reminiscent. My master once said that people that could drink more than 10 jars of Granny Meng ghost wine were all special people. Special people? Chang Yuanhao instantly grasped the most important part of the sentence. My master did not explain what he meant. Shi Yu shook his head. I've never changed the recipe for this Granny Meng ghost wine. I also want to know what kind of person that my master would deem special is like. When he finished speaking, his tone carried a thread of anticipation and excitement. Chang Yuanhao was slightly shocked. The city master was usually composed and at ease, as though he was confident no matter the situation. It was the first time he saw such an expression on city master's face. Yu Shuang's gaze did not move away from the battlefield. Now it is time to see how far Xinye's Peacock Eye Spot domain has progressed and if he can withstand this. The 3 closed their mouths and gazed at the battlefield among the strong vibrations. Xinye's expression changed slightly. He seemed to be standing on the surface of a drum as someone continued to bang on it. With every beat, the ground trembled and the vibration increased in strength. The peacock eye spots were still maintaining themselves on the ground, but Xinyu could feel that they were being shaken and becoming unstable. What kind of freak was this person? He almost did not believe his own eyes. The other was able to express such power within the peacock eye spot domain. This guy. Within the peacock eye spot domain, every eye spot was a whirlpool. He had just managed to cultivate the peacock eye spot domain 2 years ago, but there were already 990 eye spots in his peacock eye spot domain. With 990 eye spots moving simultaneously, someone weaker would have been torn apart immediately. Even if their body was strong, under the power of 990 peacock eye spots, they would be like a fly that had flown into a spiderweb and would tangle themselves up even as they struggled. And finally, when the power entangled the enemy till they were unable to move, Xinyu could easily go in for the kill under the other's terrified gaze. However, he looked hard at Zuemo. For some unknown reason, he felt a wave of coldness. He knew that Xiao Emogu felt the effects of the peacock eye spot domain. Xiao Emogu's body had visibly paused when he entered the peacock eye spot domain. Yet, Xiao Emogu was raining down punches on the ground like he was mad. These actions that had seemed extremely idiotic to him now caused Xinyu to feel a sense of danger. He could not just sit and wait. Xinyu seemed to wake up and viciousness flashed through his eyes. He decided to use that move. Zuemo felt unprecedentedly good. The drunkenness rose to his mind and he was even more excited. The peacock eye spot in front of him did not have the time to reform before it was smashed apart again. As Zuomo's punches became heavier, the terrifying power spread out and produced wave after wave of rainbow ripples. So good. Zuomo laughed madly into the air as he continued to punch. Punching at a rate that was so fast that robbed people of their breath, the strong fire shifted restlessly inside Zuomo's body. He was like a person that was dying of thirst and furiously searching for water. What he was trying to find were ways that could get the power of his punches to be stronger. The more power that came from the collision of the fire, the more shun power would come out of his body. The MO matrix on Zuomo's right fist was blindingly bright and drew out streaks of light in the air as he moved it rapidly. Now under the blinding streaks of light, no one could see the scattered sparks that floated in the air. At this time, the peacock eye spots under his feet seemed to be attracted by a magnet and started to gather in one direction. With his eyes blurred in drunkenness, Zuomo stopped moving and watched as the eye spots moved past his foot. He slowly moved his head and looked in the direction the peacock eye spots had disappeared into. The peacock eye spots on the ground and in the air were gathering on Xianxia's body. Xinyu was completely transformed at this moment. Peacock feathers had crawled up his body and entered his MO matrix. The peacock crown on Xianxia's forehead seemed to come alive, the wings spreading. In a flash, its spread wings covered Xianxia's head. It transformed into an exquisite helmet that only showed Xianxia's eyes. A peacock feather that was about half a chi long appeared in Xianxia's hand. Zuomo stilled, remembering that he had made a bet with the person in front of him. But he could not remember what the bet was about. How could little Mo lose a bet? Zuomo swayed as he moved to face Xinyu. No one dared to underestimate this drunken youth any longer. Every one of his punches seemed to land upon their minds. However, when Xianxia's transformation was revealed, especially that five-colored peacock feather, exclamations rang out in the crowd. Peacock King Plume! Even Yu Shuang could not keep his composure from where he was in the stands. He suddenly stood up and stared hard at the battlefield with a stunned expression. This guy even managed to cultivate the Peacock King Plume. The Shen family really produced someone amazing. Peacock King Plume, the famed killing move of the Shen family, and one of the top killing moves even among the many prestigious families of Hundred Savage Realm. There were numerous foes in the history of the Shen family that had fallen to this move. The founder of the Shen family had used this move to kill 79 generals, astounding the world and then founding the Shen family. The Peacock King Plume was very powerful, but it was just as difficult to cultivate as it was strong. Even now, the number of those who had cultivated the Peacock King Plume in the Shen family lineage could be counted on one hand. Those that wanted to cultivate the Peacock King Plume had to have a deep understanding of the Peacock Eye Spot domain. The difficulty in achieving the Peacock Eye Spot domain was high to start with. There was just a handful of Shen family descendants that could comprehend the Peacock Eye Spot domain in each generation, and even fewer among those that could comprehend the Peacock King Plume. So when Yu Shuang saw the peacock feather in Xianxia's hand, the shock he felt could be imagined. Incomplete. Chang Yuanhao suddenly spoke. It is enough, Yu Shuang sighed lightly. He is so young and able to cultivate the Peacock King Plume. That kind of talent is probably not any less than the founder of the Shen family. Chang Yuanhao was silent. Yu Shuang was right. Xianxia's talent was so high that it was shocking. He looked at the swaying and drunken youth. He felt pity inside. This youth was also talented, but he probably had not expected to encounter a genius of the century like Xinyu. Such a pity. Feeling pity, Chang Yuanhao suddenly looked across Zuomo's feet and his gaze focused abruptly. That was. A single ball of sparks floated silently next to Zuomo's feet. Chapter 606, Reversed Stellar Revolution. A hint of fear flashed through Xianxia's eyes as he stared at his opponent. For some reason, the Peacock King Plume in his hand was not as reassuring to him as he had expected. The person standing in front of him was struggling with his domain and didn't have the presence of an expert. He was a flailing drunkard that could be found on any street corner. But this drunkard caused him to feel a hint of fear. He didn't know why. Was it because those punches just now that had been unusually powerful? Or was it Xiao Mo's mad laughter? Xianxia's gaze quickly cleared up. The strong power that came from the Peacock King Plume in his hand completely suppressed the threat of terror. He laughed lightly. The fear had come without any reason. It should be the other that felt fear. Just now, Xiao Mo guest's display should have shocked everyone. However, wasn't that what he wanted? If such a powerful opponent fell under his Peacock King plume, it would be a great chapter in his legend. This was a person that could cause the shifting star sands. Let's end it everything finish, Xianxia thought. His eyes flashed with a cold light as he raised his right hand. The Peacock King plume turned into a multicolored light that shot at Xiao Mogu. An expression of pain appeared on Zhuo Mo's face. After the repeated punches, the fire inside his body was like a heavy weight. Each heavy punch caused the fire inside his body to shudder. The fire was suppressed by the Sun Crystal Seed and the power of the 10-Crow Celestial Apparatus, yet in reality, it was still extremely restless. He did not feel it when he was punching, but after he stopped, the ball of fire expanded into countless streams that entered Zhuo Mo's limbs and organs. In this instant, Zhuo Mo felt his head ring. His already muddled mind went blank. Almost at the same time, the 3 suns that had been slowly revolving on his back stopped. A light moved from the Sun Mo matrix at the center of his chest along the golden lines and quickly through the 3 suns on his back. The 4 suns suddenly gave off a blinding light. The ball of sparks next to Zhuo Mo's feet suddenly lit up. These sparks were like stars. They suddenly became attracted to Zhuo Mo's right hand. It was an extremely light sound. In a blink, the Sun Mo matrix on Zhuo Mo's right palm abruptly gave off a blinding light. The 5th sun of the 10-Crow Celestial Apparatus moved. Boom! This 5th sun that wasn't any different than the other 4 activated suns, was causing a string of unexpected occurrences. Its position was too distinct. Zhuo Mo's right hand was where the power whirlpool was contained by the 10,000-layer Iron Cower Mo matrix. A burst of savage power furiously followed towards the sun on Zhuo Mo's right palm. In a blink, Zhuo Mo's Sun Mo matrix almost burst as it restrained the flows of power which contained a significant amount of Shen power. It suddenly dimmed and a presence that was divergent to the other suns appeared on Zhuo Mo's right hand. Many sparks and dots appeared next to this sun script like the marks of the stars. The cloud of sparks began to circle around his hands and spin endlessly like a tiny stream of red stars. The red light suddenly spread outwards from under Zhuo Mo and fought back against the darkness of Xianxia's domain. An exclamation rang out among the crowd. This exclamation caused Zhuo Mo's mind to shudder. The drunkenness that accompanied the ball of fire seemed to have retreated, and his vision suddenly cleared. Consequently, he saw a streak of 5-colored light shooting at him. In this moment, the feeling of extreme danger caused the hairs on his body to stand on end. Without even thinking, he raised his right hand. The handful of sparks that shrouded his palm shot at the streak of light. Shi Yue suddenly stood up. He looked at the handful of sparks with an excited expression. At this time, no one was paying attention to him. Everyone was looking closely at the battlefield. They all had a feeling that after this round of attacks, someone would definitely fall. The speed of the sparks was not fast, and in front of the lightning-fast Peacock King plume, it was like a turtle. The Peacock King plume shot into the cloud of sparks. And a stunning scene occurred. The moment the unstoppable Peacock King plume came into contact with the sparks, it slowed down. When it was halfway into the sparks, it was as slow as a snail. A wisp of fire suddenly appeared at the tip of the Peacock King plume. The fire quickly spread along the Peacock King plume. In a blink, the Peacock King plume turned into a ball of ash and disappeared. Just at the same moment the first wisp of fire appeared on the Peacock King plume, Xianxia's eyes suddenly widened. He was stunned and motionless as though he had been struck by lightning. No one noticed a wisp of fire appear from under his feet and climb onto his feet. When Xianxia noticed this wisp of fire, it was too late. The wisp suddenly grew and engulfed him in a flash. A horrid scream came from inside the flames. The hair-raising scream was suddenly choked off. The fire disappeared and with a pop, there was nothing left in its place. The handful of sparks flew back and wrapped around Zhuo Mo's right hand. It gradually changed form and in the blink of an eye, it appeared like a red bracelet around Zhuo Mo's wrist. The bracelet slowly spun around Zhuo Mo's right hand. If one looked closely, they would be able to distinguish a scene similar to a revolving red galaxy. The change came so fast. The entire situation had flipped on its head, and Xinyu had been turned to ash. It was deathly silent. On the stands, Shi Yue had a disbelieving expression as he murmured to himself, "Reversed stellar revolution? Reversed stellar revolution?" Chang Yuanhao froze when he heard this. A moment later, he slowly said, "Isn't he cultivating 10 Crows celestial apparatus? How can he obtain the reversed stellar revolution?" Reversed stellar revolution? It isn't possible. Yu Shuang recovered from his shock. That is a killing move only those with star-type MO physiques can achieve. I do not know how. Shi Yue quickly recovered his calmness and shook his head as he said, "Usually, those practicing the 10 Crow celestial apparatus cannot produce the reversed stellar revolution, but that is the reversed stellar revolution. His reversed stellar revolution is not the normal reversed stellar revolution. His stars are crimson red and clearly have a fire attribute. This deviation should be related to the 10 Crow celestial apparatus that he cultivates." Impossible! Impossible! Yu Shuang's head shook like a rattledrum. How can someone with 10 Crow celestial apparatus cultivate the reversed stellar revolution? This is absurd. If it wasn't the city master that was in front of him, he would have scorned this comment. He also caused the shifting star sands. Chang Yuanhao suddenly said, "Is it really the reversed stellar revolution?" Yu Shuang stared at the crimson bracelet that was spinning in the air. It was unknown what he was thinking. Zhuo Mo regained clarity of mind and the Jinji on the battlefield were turned off. Lan Rong excitedly jumped onto the field and threw an arm around Zhuo Mo's shoulder. He was so excited he almost couldn't speak coherently. "Brother, you are too powerful. Too powerful. You could even defeat the Peacock King Plume. You really are powerful." The surrounding people looked at Zhuo Mo with eyes filled with respect and fear. Any person that could defeat the Peacock King Plume was certainly deserving of this much. Zhuo Mo's face was puzzled. He was muddled about everything that had occurred when he was drunk. He was also slightly surprised at Lan Rong's closeness, but he did not push the other away. He asked cluelessly, "What happened? What happened here? Why am I unable to recall anything?" Lan Rong paused. He stared at Zhuo Mo for a long while. Seeing the other did not seem to be faking, he hurriedly narrated what had occurred just now. When he got to the dangerous and exciting parts, Lan Rong's arms gestured excitedly and he was even more spirited than Zhuo Mo. Zhuo Mo was slightly shocked. He did not have any recollection at all. He had killed Xinyu. The other had comprehended domain and had that Peacock King Plume. The other sounded very strong. He noticed the crimson bracelet on his wrist. Stopping, his mind inspected the bracelet, and then an indescribable feeling came to him. Hey. Are you dumb from excitement?" Lan Rong saw Zhuo Mo was in a daze and hurriedly shouted. Zhuo Mo refocused. He knew that this was not the place to investigate, so he moved his mind back and looked around. Where is Brother Tianlong? After this event, the three of them had gone through their own battles and the relationship had naturally changed. He is not as good a drinker as you, and is lying down over there in a corner. You are really ferocious. I've never seen anyone drink so much Granny Meng ghost wine, and you were even able to kill Xinyu after that. Monster. Too freakish. Lan Rong shook his head as he reflected. Suddenly, a voice came from behind him. You won. 3 days later, I will find you and accompany you for a day. Zhuo Mo turned around. What entered his vision was a beautiful, seductive face that held a hint of indolence. That pair of eyes that seemed to be able to speak examined Zhuo Mo curiously. Princess Xia. Zhuo Mo suddenly became nervous. Wasn't this his goal? He forcibly suppressed the impulse to act immediately and forced out a smile. Princess Xia is one to keep your word. Good. In 3 days I will wait for Princess arrival. Princess Xia smiled like a blooming flower. The surroundings seemed to brighten, and the sound of swallowing sounded in the surroundings. This dissipated much of the tension in the air. This is a reward you deserve. Finished speaking, Princess Xia turned and left. Such a beauty. Lan Rong looked at the back of Princess Xia and couldn't help but praise. However, he quickly had a mischievous smile on his face as he poked Zhuemo. Hee, don't you feel it difficult to get through these 3 days? Zhuemo instantly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Lan Rong was so lively it was almost overboard. However, this feeling was pretty good. He cooperated. 3 days, it will go by quickly. Lan Rong's tone suddenly turned serious and he said to Zhuemo in a low voice. You need to be careful. You might have defeated Xin Yu in a challenge which is lawful so no one can openly protest. However, the Shen family placed great importance on Xin Yu and they will not let the matter end here. You have to be careful of them acting from the shadows. Zhuemo gratefully patted the other. Do not worry, I will be careful. After saving Xiaogua and Li Yingfeng, he would quickly leave. Why would he stay in Great Peace City? But Lan Rong's reminder was sincere and Zhuemo could feel that. Suddenly, Zhuemo noticed several people walking towards them. Chapter 607, Special, Congratulations, Congratulations. Little brother Xiao Emogu has stepped onto a new level with this battle. It really is an occasion to celebrate. The one that spoke was an old man that Zhuemo did not recognize. Zhuemo started to act humble when he heard Lan Rong bow and say, Lan Rong greets City Master. City Master. Sure you? The average-looking old man in Zhuemo's eyes instantly appeared to be more scholarly and deep. As expected, reputation made the person. Zhuemo felt great admiration towards people that were knowledgeable. This time, he was sincerely humble. City Master is too generous. Shi Yue smiled slightly, the faint wrinkles on his face clear to the eye. He looked at Lan Rong and said warmly, You are a child of the Lan family, right? Not bad, you have some sense of honor. He turned his face to look at Zhuemo, introducing, Let me introduce these two to little brother. Chang Yuan Hao. A deep voice came from the shadows. This one is Yu Shuang. There was a slight smile on Yu Shuang's face. He bowed slightly and was warm and elegant. Without needing Lan Rong's introduction, he knew who these two were, first and second ranked on the Great Peace Mo ranking. Even though Xiao Emogu was full of confidence in himself, he was still shocked that these two personages had come. He returned a bow. I am Xiao Emogu. Please take care of me. At the side, Lan Rong was so excited he wasn't able to speak. He had attended the banquet of the city master many times, but it was the first time he met these 3 major personages. He felt as though he was dreaming to have been complimented by the city master. Shi Yue smiled slightly at Lan Rong. I'm sorry, we have come to find little brother Xiao to discuss some matters. Please accept my apologies. Lan Rong seemed to wake up and immediately recovered. He said perceptively, This junior needs to go search for my brother. Goodbye, city master, goodbye, elders. He bowed respectfully and then retreated. Matters to discuss? Zhuemo was puzzled. It was the first time he met these 3. What was there to discuss? Shi Yue did not clarify and motioned with a hand. Little brother, let us go over there. All right. The 4 of them entered a quiet room. When they entered the room, the noise from the outside instantly disappeared. Zhuemo noticed that there were Jinji set up in the room that could prevent eavesdroppers. I had not expected little brother to cultivate the reversed stellar revolution. The one who spoke first was Shi Yue. With those initial words, he attracted Zhuemo's attention. Reversed stellar revolution? This? Zhuemo raised his right wrist and the crimson bracelet that slowly spun around. Yes. Shi Yue glanced at Zhuemo. It appears that little brother does not know much about it. Yes, I do not understand, city master. Please give me guidance, Zhuemo said obediently. Shi Yue smiled slightly. Reversed stellar revolution is a kind of killing move. However, killing moves of this kind are usually only obtained after those with star-type Mo physiques comprehend domain. Star-type Mo physiques? Zhuemo shook his head. I cultivate the 10 crow celestial apparatus. Shi Yue nodded and said, This is where little brother is special. It is true that little brother cultivates the 10 crow celestial apparatus that is ranked 3rd among general rank physiques, and I also noticed that while the domain, that little brother has comprehended has not fully taken form, it is already crimson red. If I am right, little brother has already reached the doorway to the Ten Crows celestial domain. I've reached the doorway to domain? This time, it was Zhuomo's turn to be shocked. His mind shifted and the suns suddenly gave off a strange power. A crimson ring of light appeared under his feet. As expected, it is the 10 Crows celestial domain. Yushang couldn't help but speak. As expected of the top-ranked domain among the general ranks. Even though it has not taken form, it is so strong and domineering. His voice was filled with admiration. Zhuo felt increasingly puzzled. However, he knew that the other would explain the cause since the other had come to find him. As he expected, Shi Yue continued. It is the first time that I saw a situation like little brother's. Little brother, you clearly cultivate the 10 Crow celestial apparatus Mo physique, and the domain you comprehend is the 10 Crow celestial domain. How could you cultivate the reversed stellar revolution? Star type Mo physique? What is the Mo physique you cultivated previously? Yu Shuang couldn't help but ask. Great day Mo physique, Zhuo said. Second among kernel-level Mo physiques. Yu Shuang couldn't help himself. A strong Mo physique as well. And before that? Jade metal head. This time, even Shi Yue was slightly surprised. Yu Shuang looked at Zhuo as though he was looking at a freak. Ranking 5th among captain level, are you from an ancient family? I don't know. Zhuo gave an embarrassed grimace. I know nothing about my birth. Shi Yue and Yu Shuang both showed slight surprise, but they quickly recovered. There is also another possible cause. Chang Yuanhao suddenly spoke from within the shadows. The three turned their gazes onto him. If one cultivates Yao arts to a certain level, they can also cultivate the reversed stellar revolution. Chang Yuanhao's words were a surprise to hear. Yu Shuang stilled and then slapped his forehead with his palm. How could I forget that? Stars and Yao, star power is one of the powers that Yao favor the most. There is probably more Yao than Mo that have the reversed stellar revolution. Oh, I remember, you seem to know Yao arts. A bit, Zhuo said as he nodded his head. When he had fought against Miao Jun, he had used little Yao arts, so he openly admitted it. The gazes of the trio turned strange when they looked at him. It seems that this is the cause. Shi Yue nodded and said, there have been those in the past that cultivate Mo and Yao together, but I haven't ever heard of anyone that cultivates reversed stellar revolution and the 10 Crows celestial apparatus together. As expected of what my master said, people that can drink more than 10 jars of Granny Meng ghost wine are all special people. What is your Yao art domain? Yu Shuang asked curiously. Yao art domain? I do not have one. Zhuo shook his head. You did not cultivate a Yao art domain, but you comprehended the killing move. This is too. Yu Shuang didn't know what to say. Shi Yue saw his deeply impacted state and comforted. If your 1,000 coil threads is complete, you can definitely break through to martial level. Yu Shuang rolled his eyes and said in a negative tone, 10 Crow celestial domain is my bane. 10 Crow celestial domain is everyone's bane. Shi Yue comforted skillfully. Look at Yuanhao, he is even worse off than you are. He is completely subdued by it in every way. The shadow stilled when he heard this. Yu Shuang's expression turned from depressed to sunny. He clapped and said with a smile, "Huh. Yes, in any case, anyone else that comes to fight will be worse off." Zhuo listened to Shi Yue and Yu Shuang's conversation. His heart jumped wildly. He was worried the other would decide to kill the threat in its infancy. Then it would be over for him. The two old Mo were not people that Xinyu could compare to. Added that, even now, Zhuo did not understand how he had defeated Xinyu. Shi Yue saw Zhuo's uneasiness and couldn't help but laugh. I can see that little brother doesn't have such intentions. You should reinforce this perception after just having a breakthrough. Little brother, at your leisure, let us gather in a few days. Hearing this, Zhuo immediately fled as though he was being pardoned. After Zhuo's figure left, the room became quiet again. His birth is not simple. The one that spoke first was actually Chang Yuanhao. He's not bad. Yu Shuang said with a smile, not a bad boy, I hope that Princess Xia won't tempt him away. Shi Yue shook his head and said, little Xia will probably fail this time. But such a young boy, it wouldn't be simple for him to resist the power of Princess Xia. Yu Shuang looked gossipy. How long has it been since 10 Crows celestial apparatus appeared last? Shi Yue suddenly asked. Very long ago. Yu Shuang wasn't sure. Thinking about what Zuemo had said just now, he couldn't help but gape. Jade metal head, great day, 10 Crow celestial apparatus, this is the best evolution path. If this was made public, how many would be jealous? Even I am jealous hearing that. It is infuriating to compare myself to him. Shi Yue automatically ignored Yu Shuang's mutterings. He had a thoughtful expression. Is something wrong? Chang Yuan how suddenly spoke. Shi Yue slowly said, I am thinking about that specialness that my master talked about. I wonder if the specialness refers to this. Of course it refers to this. Yu Shuang's tone was certain. If this isn't what's special, then there isn't anything else that is special. This boy is definitely a freak among the freaks, the greatest freak of them all. Shi Yue said gravely, I have always persisted in making the Granny Meng ghost wine because of the words that my master said. In my memories, my master rarely used the word special to refer to anyone. Every word that my master said was carefully selected and had its own profound meaning. In these years, I have always pondered what the specialness that my master spoke of referred to. Shi Yue caused Yu Shuang to quiet down. For everyone in Great P City, Shi Ziming was like an all-powerful god. Since the time has not arrived, let us first observe, Yu Shuang said. Shi Yue nodded and the three sank into silence. Pooh, is this really the reversed stellar revolution? On the road back to the compound, Zuemo couldn't resist asking. It really is the reversed stellar revolution? Pu Yao's expression was slightly grave. However, your reverse stellar revolution is not the same as the normal reverse stellar revolution. You have Sun Shen power inside it. He then warned, you should spend some time now on practicing your Yao arts. Without a Yao art domain, you will not be able to express much of the power of the reversed stellar revolution. Wei slowly spoke. Azwa, you have just reached the doorway to the 10 Crow celestial domain. You cannot let it lie. This is the first-ranked domain of the general level. It is not something that reversed stellar revolution can compare to. Hearing this, Pu Yao smirked coldly and said, you are ignorant. You really think that the 10 Crow celestial domain is invincible? The reversed stellar revolution is full of variations and this one contains Shen power. The 10 Crow celestial domain might not be a match. Wei was not angry and said with a smile, it cannot be called invincible, but it is not me that gave it the title of the top domain in general level. Zuemo looked at the duo that was arguing and said helplessly, don't you two find it very strange? I practiced the 10 Crow celestial apparatus, but what developed was the reversed stellar revolution. Is it strange? Pu Yao asked in response. It's all right. Wei's expression was matter of fact. Zuemo was speechless. Chapter 608 Insider information. Zuemo did not know what effects the events at this banquet had had on all of Great P City. When he returned home, he instantly settled down and started to ponder on his 10 Crow celestial domain and the reversed stellar revolution. Right now, 5 of 10 suns of his 10 Crow celestial apparatus Mo physique had turned bright. In other words, it meant that half of the suns were lit up. Other than this, he had an unexpected gain in the second transformation of the 10 Crow celestial apparatus, the Sun Hammer. However, what was most attractive to Zuemo was the 10 Crow celestial domain and the reversed stellar revolution. The 10 Crow celestial domain was called the top domain of general level and unparalleled in its dominance. If he could comprehend it, it meant that he would ascend to the top ranks of general level experts in one leap. However, he quickly discovered that it was not as simple as it seemed. Right now, he had just reached the doorway towards domain, and his own domain had not formed yet. There was still a long path to walk, but Zuemo now had a general notion of what a domain was. There was a profound power between the 5 suns. This kind of power formed a domain. These powers were like chaotic streams that had to be slowly organized. When they were better organized and perfected, the domain would also be perfected. This was something that would take time, and there were no shortcuts to take. What had surprised Zhuo the most was the reversed stellar revolution. After he had returned home and examined it in detail, he found the parts of it that were sparks of fire were made from Shen power. Their structure was unique and complex. Zhuo wanted to study the structure, but when he reached out with his mind, he felt dizzy. He immediately understood that this was out of his reach at the moment. Zhuo understood that the reason the sparks were powerful was not because they were the reversed stellar revolution, but because they contained Shen power. This seemed more like a method of channeling Shen power. He understood little about Shen power. He thought about asking Xinglian Air but then gave up. As to the reversed stellar revolution, Zhuo had thrown it to the back of his mind. When would he have the time to cultivate a Yao art domain? In any case, he did not have the time now. So Zhuo focused on organizing his newly formed 10-crow celestial domain under Pu Yao's icy smile. Then he thought about how he could inquire about Xiaogua and Li Yingfeng with Princess Xia when he met with her in 3 days. For some reason, that woman gave him a feeling she was not an easy one to deal with. What do you think of Xiao? Princess Xian suddenly asked. His power is very strange. The sound of the heavy armored guard came from inside the armor. Very strange. Princess Xian did not understand. The heavy armor guard treasured his words as though they were gold. Princess Xin's delicate brow furrowed, but even in irritation, Princess Xian was dignified. Her finger unconsciously tapped the tabletop. In that case, he is a very good choice. The heavy armor guard was silent. A moment later, Princess Xian made a decision. Come in. A servant pushed open the door and entered. Princess, send someone to deliver an invitation to Mr. Xiao to attend an evening banquet. The time will be in 4 days, Princess Xian said lightly. Yes. The servant acknowledged and left. Princess Xian suddenly smiled. A Xia might have some objections about me now. The heavy armor guard was silent. Princess Xin's mind wandered as she gazed out of the window. Grandpa Zhu, are we inviting Xiao? Princess Wan asked curiously with wide eyes. Yes. Zhu Ku smiled slightly. His future is limitless. It would be a pity to give up on a talent like this. Also, he suddenly stopped speaking. Princess Wan nodded, but not in full understanding. She asked with a tilted head, then what are we inviting him over to do? Just to eat a meal, Zhu Ku said with a smile. Will elder sister Xia blame us? Princess Wan said anxiously. Zhu Ku said with a smile, your elder sister Xia is a very strong person. However, her biggest mistake this time is aiming for too much. Aiming? What is elder sister Xia aiming for? Princess Wan asked curiously. Princess will know when it is time. Zhu Ku put down the pen in his hand. After closely reading over the invitation, he made a satisfied expression. He handed the invitation to a servant that had been waiting at the side as he penned the letter. The servant immediately left upon receiving the invitation. Adhering to his nominal routine, Zhuo went to Luo Li Shixiang's room. Luo Li Shixiang did not have any signs of energy, but his body had not become rigid as was usual for death and was soft as was usual. Zhuo's worries eased slightly. No one had cultivated the life-death lock before, and he had been worried. If it wasn't that Luo Li Shixiang had been seeking death, he never would have taken it out. Agui's Shen power was increasing rapidly, but what made him happy was that, while the increase in Shen power was astounding, the light in Agui's eyes seemed to be increasing similarly. Her eyes were more lively than in the past, and she had more responses. This made Zhuo very happy, even happier than when he had the breakthrough. But when he received the 2 invitations, he was stunned where he stood. Did you hear? Princess Xian and Princess Wan could not resist. They each sent an invitation to Xiao at the same time. TSK. This time, Xiao has something to posture about. 3 princesses extending invitations at the same time? How long has it been since this occurred? The Princess Xian and Princess Wan are not stupid. It would be strange if they did not try to recruit such a powerful person. Also, the matter of the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion has made such a ruckus. One more expert is one more bit of power. Where did this Xiao Emogu really come from? The sounds on the street all fell into Nanmen Shue's ears. Nanmen Shue had an arm around a beautiful woman as he shook his head and smiled. This really disrupts one's dreams. Please. Right now, the entire city is crazy. The male opposite Nanmen Shue also had a displeased expression. He then smiled strangely and said, "In the past, even Qi Diaoyu did not get this kind of attention." Hearing the name Qi Diaoyu, Nanmen Shue glanced at the other. "Do you not want me to have a good day today?" The other laughed. "I just think that you have sunk and do not have any spirit. I find it strange why you didn't try to find trouble with Qi Diaoyu." "I'm too lazy to pay attention to him," Nanmen Shue said unconcernedly. He hugged the beauty at his side, kissed her and said with pleasure on his face, "With a beauty in hand, idleness is the best of life. You guys fight and kill all day, don't you find it bothersome?" "That's true." The others seemed to agree. In this world, the strong eat the weak. Right now, you are in Great Peace City and no one dares to target you. However, a dragon is not a part of the scenery. You are accompanied by beauties every day, you look to be carefree, but in truth, you must find it boring. The other did not look at Nanmen Shue and said directly, "Those say, drunken and lying in the lap of a beauty, wake with the power of the world in hand, are you someone to submit?" Nanmen Shue roared with laughter. "No matter how clever your tongue is, what does it have to do with me?" The other was not angry and said with a smile, "I heard that Shi Yue has been searching for a person all this time." Then he said meaningfully, "The Great Peace Treasure Pavilion has been sleeping for such a long time, it is time for it to see the light of day again." Nanmen Shue did not seem to hear it. In the past, Brother Nanmen dominated the Little Sparrow Water's 12 jia. With one call, the heroes all submitted. But right now, you have lost your spirit and immersed yourself in drunkenness. You are a completely different person. Nanmen Shue smiled. Other people do not know the reason and laugh at Brother Nanmen for falling off the path. However, I know of Brother Nanmen's love and your unchanging heart. This male stared at Nanmen Shue, emphasizing each word. Nanmen Shue's smile suddenly faded, his expression turning cold as his presence locked tightly onto the other. "You investigated me." The light words were like the clang of bells and shot to the bottom of the other's heart. The other felt his blood and energies roil, his breathing becoming difficult. He was shocked. Such terrifying power. He gritted his teeth and persisted. "Nanmen Shue, do you not want to rescue the person you love?" Murderousness flashed in Nanmen Shue's eyes as his hand shot up. "I have fire heart gall." The other's words caused Nanmen Shue's expression to suddenly change. He grabbed the other. "Say that again." Looking at Nanmen Shue's handsome features that were twisted, and his undisguised murderousness as well as the presence that was securely locked onto him, the other began to suffocate. He gritted out, "I have fire heart gall." Nanmen Shue's hand opened and the male collapsed on the ground. He was unable to climb up and the beauty beside Nanmen Shue was unconscious. "Name your terms," Nanmen Shue said coldly. This male panted and his mind was filled with terror as though death was right in front of him. After panting for a while, this male struggled out, "You have to exchange for it with an item from the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion." "Great Peace Treasure Pavilion? You believe rumors like that?" Nanmen Shue said with a cold smile. "I have been in Great Peace City for this long and never heard of a Great Peace Treasure Pavilion before." "It is true." The male finally managed to struggle back up into a standing position. "You do not need to know where I learned of the information. I'm also working for someone else." Nanmen Shue glanced at the other and asked icily, "What do you want?" "There are 3 items in the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion." The male recovered and so did his expression. "Right now, we know that there is a stone steel inside." "Stone steel?" A look flashed through Nanmen Shue's eyes. "Yes, you have studied the steels of the Great Peace Mo steels, so you should have already guessed that they are missing one piece." The male said gravely, "The most important piece. When Shi Ziming created the steel forest, he hid the most important piece." Qi Diaoyu is also looking for this steel. Nan Men Shui was silent. He was starting to believe the other's words. Our condition is very simple. Use that steel to trade for the fire heart gall. The male said gravely, you help us obtain that steel, and the fire heart gall is yours. With the fire heart gall, not just 10,000-year mystical ice, even the strongest ice energy can be dissipated. Nan Men Shui stared at the other. How can I trust you? Look at this. The other took out an object and flashed it at Nan Men Shui. Nan Men Shui's pupils shrank into pinpoints. Chapter 609. Princess Xia, how can we stand by and watch? Everyone, even though Xiao Mogu is strong, if we surrender so easily, after this, all three princesses will end up in the claws of this man. They will cry for the rest of their lives. Just how tragic would it be? We all admire the princesses. How can we stand by and watch? A youth talked fervently facing the other youths. However, while he was fervent, the other people were silent. The fight between Xiao Mogu and Xinyu had stunned them and planted the seed of terror in their minds. This person was not demotivated and continued to talk. I know what everyone is worried about. This man is vicious and doesn't bat an eye when he kills. If we face him head-on, it is easy for us to be defeated. Therefore, we can only use cunning and not brute force. He stated what everyone thought and the crowd raised their heads. A voice sounded, does Brother Wang have a good solution? The person that was so fervently speaking to the crowd was Wang Kuan. He was a faithful follower of Princess Xen. When he learned that Princess Xen had invited Xiao Mogu, he had been furious. In a blink, Princess Wan had also sent an invitation to Xiao Mogu and this group of people exploded. Xinyu was dislikable but he only had intentions on Princess Xia. The suitors of the other two princesses only watched. Xinyu had been killed, but an even more vicious competitor had appeared, Xiao Mogu, and he had received the favor of all three princesses. Something like this had never happened before. Never. But everyone had watched the battle between Xinyu and Xiao Mogu. Even the bravest of them did not have the bravery to openly fight back. Also, Xinyu had been the strongest of them. Xiao Mogu had turned Xinyu into ashes, and none of them were a match. So their morale was low until Wang Shen revealed his idea and they raised their heads. Wang Shen became more excited and said, Xiao Mogu is powerful and we naturally are not opponents in martial power. However, we have our own advantages. Xiao Mogu is just a brutish fighter. Would his fist be enough to break through the sky? We are of noble birth, well-mannered and cultured, and have Mabe. What does he have? His fists? When did we ever have to fight other people with our own fists? These young masters were all smart people and their eyes brightened. Right? When were they ever forced into a situation where they had to fight against other people themselves? They competed in terms of their father's status, wealth, servants, and family prestige. When did they ever compare based on their strengths? Wang Kuan said with a cold smile, Xinyu thought too highly of himself. The heir to the Shen family was stupid. He went to fight against Xiao Mogu. A body that is worth 1,000 gold should not put themselves into danger. We are all worth our weight in gold, very valuable. Isn't it stupid to smash ourselves against trash clay pots? Brother Wang is right. The people praised. This spoke to their hearts. This little brother has just realized this and has come to discuss with everyone, Wang Shen said modestly. His tone changed and he said, since we understand our advantage, then it is easy. The three princesses want to recruit Xiao Mogu but he is just one expert. However, if all of us unite, the power that we represent is not something that Xiao Mogu can compare to. I believe with the intelligence of the three princesses, it will not take them any effort to realize this. Yes. What is Xiao Mogu? Can he compare to us? The people started to grumble. Wang Shen waited for the noise to die down slightly before immediately following up with, but we cannot just speak and not act. Who will believe us? We need to show our muscle. Everyone, return and send letters home. It is easy to find an excuse. Just say that we are pursuing the princess, and the princess is show slight favor. However, there is a strong enemy and we need the family to send strong reinforcements. Everyone should be very skilled at this, and I do not need to waste my energy speaking on the specifics. When the people heard this, their eyes were aglow. Brother Wang is peerless in intelligence. This idea is very good. Brother Wang has a clear plan. This one admires you. And once the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion appears, the old people in the family will not be able to sit still. Yes, even more importantly, we did not lie. A thread of smugness flashed through Wang Xin's eyes. When the experts from everyone's families gather, I believe that we can exterminate Xiao Emogu with a little finger. Everyone roared with laughter. When they imagined that scene, they felt extremely good. Suddenly, someone suggested, "Why don't we ally together and swear to kill Xiao Emogu?" The people agreed. Wang Xin was overjoyed inside and said gravely, "We are all the young masters of our families and have come for the princess. Why don't we call ourselves the Gentleman's Flower Protecting Alliance? What does everyone think?" Everyone nodded. This name was accurate. With this, the Gentleman's Flower Protecting Alliance was formed. "I need to know your plan," Nanmen Shui said. "Naturally," the mystery male said, "according to our information, there is a set of conditions to open the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. Even now, we do not know what the conditions are, but Shi Yue should know. Therefore, we have been observing Shi Yue. However, he has Yu Shuang and Chang Yuanhao with him and increased the difficulty of this task. We have still managed to obtain some information." "What did you learn?" Nanmen Shui asked in a deep voice. Shi Yue seems to be very interested in Xiao Emogu. "That is normal." Nanmen Shui had a scornful smile on his face. Xiao Emogu was able to defeat the Peacock King Plume, and there are many people interested in him. "No." The mystery male was not angry. He shook his head and said, "Xiao Emogu was able to cause the shifting star sands, but what most people did not notice was that the place where he caused it was the Mo skill steals." "This does not mean anything," Nanmen Shui said. "Qi Diao, you noticed," the mystery male said, and the woman next to Xiao Emogu also noticed. The two met at the steel where Xiao Emogu had caused the shifting star sands and had a fight. It is a pity that we were not able to hear what they said. "So you feel that Xiao Emogu is the key to entering the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion?" Nanmen Shui said. "He is the most likely Shi Yue's target," the mystery male said. "What do you want me to do?" Nanmen Shui was straightforward. "You will go challenge Xiao Emogu," the mystery male said. Zuomo's brow creased. In the past few days, he had been pondering how to obtain information from Princess Xia about Xiaogua and Li Yingfeng, but even now, he did not have any good ideas. He shook his head. He could only act according to the situation. When the servant of Princess Xia saw Zuomo, they came forward to welcome him and said respectfully, "The princess has been waiting a long time for Sir." Finishing, the servant led the way. Following behind the servant, Zuomo secretly asked Pu Yao and Wei, "What solutions do you have?" Pu Yao said coldly, "It would be best if you do not think of trying to hold her hostage. The Wei family will have arranged for a very powerful expert to guard every generation of princess." "Then what?" Zuomo asked helplessly. "Think of a way to move her," Wei suddenly said. "Move her?" Zuomo was stunned by this way of thinking. Wei did not reply, and Zuomo looked at Princess Xia. Princess Xia was lazily reclining on the sedan. There was only a light layer of silk on her body, and what was underneath could be barely made out. Her left hand was propping up her chin, her waist and behind drawing out an arousing curve that caused people to uncontrollably swallow. When had the innocent little Emogu ever seen such a scene? His face immediately turned red and he stopped in his steps. However, he quickly composed himself and repeated in his mind, "This was war." Raising his head, his eyes imperceptibly flickered across the surroundings. As expected, in the shadows close to the sedan, there was a female attendant standing silently. Zuomo's heart shook. This middle-aged female attendant was most likely the expert that Pu Yao had spoken of. When he paid attention, Zuomo noticed that the middle-aged attendant did not have any presence. If Zuomo's gaze did not see her, then he would have been unable to detect her. An expert. Zuomo did not dare to move rashly. "Sit." The lips parted and soft words that softened one's bones came out. "This was war." Mo recited to himself as he sat down. You are very nervous. Princess Xia looked amusedly at Mo. The plump and white wrist was propping up an extremely beautiful face whose eyes were full of feeling. Ha, no, Mo laughed. His mind turned furiously. Move her, how could he move her? Princess Xia smiled and looked interestedly at Mo. Mo did not know what to say and remained silent. The room suddenly quieted and the atmosphere became awkward. In his sea of consciousness, Pu Yao and Wei heartlessly bombarded him. You need to speak more, form a connection, do you understand? Zwa, you cannot move women by doing this. You need to speak more. So embarrassing. Too embarrassing. How can I have such a student as useless as you? You aren't even able to talk to a woman. Pu Yao was furious. Zwa, this is a 1 in 1,000 chance. Wei led on. Say what? Mo said helplessly. Pu Yao and Wei's voices stopped. A moment later, Pu Yao raised his head and said with a furrowed brow, Weather? Hobbies? Outlook on life? What do women like? Right, Corps Commander was a woman, what did she like? Wei also had a pondering expression. What did Master like the most? Let me think, wait. I remember. What? Mo and Pu Yao spoke at the same time. Fighting. Wei's face was excited. What Master liked the most was fighting. Fighting, endless fighting. Master once said that only fighting could cause her to become excited. Only by fighting would she feel that she is different from the common rouge. Oh, but what is a common rouge? It describes women that are unacceptable. Pu Yao explained with a profound expression. Is Princess Xia one of the common rouge? Mo asked. Of course not. Pu Yao and Wei answered at the same time. Mo immediately realized and nodded vehemently. He said murderously, I understand. Chapter 610, You Drink Wine. Princess Xia looked at Xiao Emogu, who had a nervous expression on his face. Surprised, she felt interested. The people around her were all young masters, and which one of them wasn't experienced with women? How long had it been since she had met such a virgin? Thinking about when she was a child and about the innocent faces around her that did not have fierce desire and thoughts of consuming her. Back when there was only the innocence of childhood, and they were her playmates. But then, everything changed. A certain soft place in Princess Xia's heart seemed to be lightly touched. Are you afraid of me? She asked lightly. Mo, who had just opened his eyes and was preparing to utter a challenge, had his words forced back by the other's soft words. His eyes widened. Afraid of you? Mo did not understand why Princess Xia would have such a strange idea. Did little Emogu look like a cowardly person? You are not afraid of me, why don't you look at me? Princess Xia's words caused Mo's prepared words of, come, let's have a fight, to be swallowed back. Mo found that he could not keep up with the other's thoughts. Oh, why couldn't he look at her? He opened his eyes wide and then stared at Princess Xia. So beautiful, that, this feeling, why would he think of swallowing? An illusory spell. Mo shook. Princess Xia saw Mo's change and couldn't help but burst into laughter. In that moment, she was very attractive and her smile seemed to light up the room. Mo was almost unable to move his eyes away and his breathing rate increased. Just an illusory spell, you want to defeat little Emogu? But, so powerful. Come taste this night draw wine, this is a famous vintage in the Mo world, and can rival the Granny Meng ghost wine. It is a pity that I only have one bottle. After drinking this, you cannot ask for more from me. Princess Xia poured wine for Mo with a smile. Her skin was as white as snow, and as fine as porcelain. Her body was slightly tilted towards Mo, and the deep valley in front of her chest seemed to have an unusual power that caused people to unconsciously sink into it. Mo felt a wave of heat rise from his lower half. His mouth was dry and he had a strange feeling. Such a powerful illusory spell. It was even more powerful than the illusory spells that the paper crane girl had cast in Wukong Mountains in the past. Was this her attack? Determination flashed across Mo's eyes. How could a true man not receive the move? Without another word, Zuo secretly cast a bone-crushing obscuring flash with his left hand as he picked up the night draw wine with his right hand and drank all of it. When the wine entered his throat, Zuo couldn't help but pause. The taste of this wine was completely different compared to the Granny Meng ghost wine. The Granny Meng ghost wine was as hot as fire and burned like a ball of flame when it entered his throat. This night draw wine was cool and light, reaching directly into his mind and making him unspeakably comfortable. The taste wasn't bad? The illusory spell hadn't been broken? Princess Xia laughed lightly. Your rough gulping is suited to drinking the Granny Meng ghost wine but not to the night draw wine. Sip, and let the wine swirl around your mouth before slowly swallowing it. Try it, the feeling of the wine will be different. Finishing, Princess Xia picked up the wine cup. Her eyes were slightly closed, and her gentle and seductive red lips contrasted against the snowy white porcelain. Zuo lost focus slightly, but he quickly raised his alertness and focused. He copied Princess Xia and took small sips. When the night draw wine swished a few rounds around his mouth, a unique fragrance spread into his body. In this moment, it was as though he was soaking in cool water, so comfortable that he almost groaned. So comfortable. Princess Xia closed her eyes and said as though she was talking in her sleep, "When I was young, I liked to drink night draw wine the most. Daddy didn't like me drinking, so I sneaked into Daddy's wine cellar. One time, I accidentally drank too much and fell asleep in the wine cellar. When Daddy caught me with the goods." She poked out her tongue like a child that had been caught doing bad things by her parents. "He sealed the wine cellar. Even now, it hasn't been reopened. Now, no one knows that there is a wine cellar there. I really miss the time when Daddy was here." There seemed to be something flashing through Princess Xia's eyes. She suddenly raised her face and threw back all of the wine. Putting down the wine cup, her cheeks were blushed and her eyes were dazed. "What bad things did you do when you were little?" Zuo could feel the sorrow and longing in Princess Xia's words. It was like when he thought of the sect leader and the Shirshu. But it was not something that he could state aloud here. Hearing her question, he shook his head. "In childhood? I don't know." "You don't know?" Princess Xia was surprised by this answer. "My memory was erased and my appearance has been changed. I don't know anything about my past." Zuo replied truthfully. Originally, he hadn't wanted to say it. While this was something that did not have to be kept a secret, he did not want to casually tell other people. However, Princess Xia's reminiscing seemed sincere to him, so he spoke of it. Princess Xia covered her mouth, her expression shocked. She hadn't expected it to be such a terrifying answer. "Sorry," she said, full of apology. "It's nothing." Zuo shook his head unconcernedly. "In any case, I don't remember it. It is not a bad thing to not remember." Princess Xia smiled slightly and then poured a cup for Zuo. "Sometimes, it is cruel to remember." Zuo drank the wine all in one gulp. Even though it was better to sip it slowly, he liked drinking it in one gulp better. This made him feel it was very exhilarating. Princess Xia's words touched him. He thought of the phrase, "do not forget," that frequently appeared in his dreams, and a hint of bitterness rose. However, it is crueler to forget things what one doesn't want to forget. Zuo poured a cup for himself and drained it. Princess Xia stilled. She almost couldn't believe that this was something that this innocent youth said. She slowly pondered this and her thoughts wandered. Her mind wandered in this moment. Moments later, she smiled brightly and raised her wine cup. For this phrase, "drink." Then she copied Zuo to drain the cup in one gulp. When she put down the wine cup, her cheeks were flushed red, and her eyes blurred. Her appearance was slightly disheveled and it added even more attractiveness. Her eyes moved and it became a flirtatious look. Princess Xia looked at Zuo and said lightly, "I'm very curious what you have come to find me for." Zuo was slightly tipsy at this time and had long thrown Pu Yao and Weiss words to the back of his mind. When he heard Princess Xia's words, he did not avoid it and said directly, "I have come to beg Princess for 2 people. Which 2 people are worth you coming to make a request?" Princess Xia looked wryly at Zuo's, "2 of my Xiozha friends. I heard that Princess Xia saved them, so I come to request them from Princess." Zuaremo did not avoid Princess Xia's gaze and said seriously, Xiaoxia friends? Princess Xia was slightly astounded. I hadn't thought that you actually had Xiaoxia friends. Yes, I had picked 2 female Xiaoxia previously. You have good information sources. The last word carried some flirtatiousness, and the eyes were glimmering. I coincidentally saved another friend, Zuaremo said honestly. So you wanted to lure me here? Princess Xia had amusement on her face when she looked at Zuaremo. Yes. Zuaremo docilely admitted. Are these 2 female Xiaoxia very important to you? Princess Xia asked. Very important, Zuaremo nodded and said without hesitation. Princess Xia covered her mouth and giggled. So you like female Xiaoxia? If this news goes public, many female Mo's hearts will be heartbroken. Zuaremo choked on the words. Let's continue. A hint of mischievousness flashed through Princess Xia's eyes. I can give them to you, but I had planned on using them as maids. Now that I give them to you, what benefit can you give me? Speak. Zuaremo's expression was serious. Even though he was greedy in personality and liked to bargain, he did not have any thought of bargaining on this matter. Can I first think about it? Have you owe me a favor? When I think of something, then I will tell you. Princess Xia had a sly expression. Zuaremo was startled, and then he reacted after a moment. He said cautiously, after finding them, I plan to leave Great Peace City. Leave Great Peace City? Princess Xia stilled slightly and a hint of disappointment flashed through her eyes. She quickly recovered and said with a smile, So you have come especially for them? Yes. Zuaremo nodded. I really don't want to give them to you, Princess Xia said with a light laugh. It is not very easy to find a good person to drinking with. But when she saw Zuaremo's nervous expression, she burst into laughter and said to herself, It is rare that I am kind, I have to maintain this. Don't worry, I will give them to you. Finishing, she turned and gave orders in a low tone. The middle-aged attendant in the corner glanced at Zuaremo. She did not seem to move, but moments later, a servant came in with 2 other female attendants. Xiaogua. Ling Feng. Zuaremo's eyes suddenly widened. It was hard to control his expression of joy, but he suppressed it and did not call out to the 2 of them. Here, from today onwards, they belong to you, Princess Xia said to Zuaremo with a smile. Zuaremo hadn't expected that the matter would proceed so smoothly. Looking at Princess Xia, he gravely bowed. If Princess thinks of something you need, please request it as long as I have not left Great Peace City. Xiaogua's eyes suddenly widened and became disbelieving. Ling Feng looked at Zuaremo anxiously. Then you will owe me for now. Princess Xia's beautiful eyes stared at Zuaremo as she said with a smile, I like it best when people owe me. When I think of something, you cannot fail to uphold your word. Never, Zuaremo said seriously. Take your friends and leave, they had significant hardship on the road, Princess Xia said with a light laugh. Zuaremo also desired to return. He raised his folded hands to Princess Xia. Farewell. He stood with one hand pulling Xiaogua and the other pulling Ling Feng as he prepared to rise into the air. Suddenly a bright voice sounded in the sky. Where is Xiao Emogu? Nanmen Shui asks for a fight. Princess Xia looked at Zuaremo's frozen expression. Her hand covered her mouth as she laughed. This is not my fault. A hint of joy flashed imperceptibly through her eyes. Chapter 611, Ambush. Who was Nanmen Shui? Of course, Zuaremo knew, the person ranked 3rd on the Great Peace Mo rankings. After the battle with Xinyu, Zuaremo's ranking had shot up. And in a flash, he went from the bottom of the ranking to the 7th rank. But why would the other challenge him? This shouldn't be happening. If the 3rd rank challenged the 7th ranked, the victory would not be fair and there were no benefits to winning. Zuaremo found it bewildering. He walked into the yard and raised his head to see Nanmen Shui with his black robes flapping in the wind. You are not going to accept the challenge? Princess Xia suddenly crowded over. The beautiful face was mischievous. This person's mind is faulty. Zuaremo stared at Nanmen Shui in the air as he muttered, I did not offend him. So strange. He thought and then shook his head. I won't accept. Why do you not accept? A hint of confusion flashed through Princess Xia's eyes. If you do not accept, your reputation will drop. People in Great Peace City that do not accept challenges will be laughed at. I can't win. Zuo threw up his hands with a helpless expression. Princess Xia was stunned. It was the first time she had met someone who would admit their weakness in front of her. The other men would try to show off their strength in front of her, show off their wealth, show off all kinds of qualities, each of them like peacocks with their tail feathers spread out. There was someone who actually admitted in front of her that he could not win. Then, after a long while, Princess Xia did not know what to say. Let him cool himself up there, the wind is pretty strong. Zuo shook his head and moved his gaze away. He prepared to take Xiaogua and Li Yingfeng to leave. Princess Xia couldn't help but laugh at these words. The person in front of her didn't have any of his previous seriousness and was like a little hoodlum. Princess Xia's eyes moved as she said, "What if he were to pursue you outside the city?" Zuo turned around and said with a serious expression, "Actually, I never told you before, but what I am most skilled at is fighting using many against few. Fighting with many against few." After repeating it once, Princess Xia finally reacted. Her body trembled as she laughed. Pointing at Zuo's nose, she said, "You are a rascal." Zuo's eyes accidentally saw the motions at Princess Xia's bosom. It was like he was struck with lightning and he froze immediately where he stood. Illusory spell. It came again. Was this kind of illusory spell something that was automatically cast? Princess Xia was a perceptive person and immediately noticed Zuo's state. She was not bashful, and she blinked her eyes at Zuo as she covered her mouth and laughed lightly. Zuo awkwardly coughed and then said, "Is there a back door? One that I can sneak out of?" Seeing Zuo act like this, Princess Xia felt like laughing. She summoned a servant and said a few words before she said to Zuo, "You can follow her." "Thank you." Zuo's words were sincere. He bowed to Princess Xia. Princess Xia was completely different compared to what Pu Yao and Wei had spoken of. He did not know how Princess Xia appeared in other people's eyes, but in his eyes, she was a good person. Waving a hand at Princess Xia, he took Xiaogua and Li Yingfeng as he moved away with the servant. Watching Zuo's figure disappear, a hint of dispiritedness flashed through Princess Xia's eyes. But it faded in a blink. The smile on her face faded, and her gaze became sharp again. Confidence and ease came back onto her face. She suddenly glanced at Nanmen Shui in the air and said faintly, "Force him down, it is an eyesore to look at." The middle-aged female attendant was about to act when her expression changed. "Someone has come." As she finished speaking, a strange demonic sound seemed to burrow out of the deep of the earth. A man dressed in snowy white robes appeared near Nanmen Shui. The crowd that was watching shifted. "Qi Diaoyu." Nanmen Shui's gaze slowly became cold. "Qi Diaoyu? I have come to challenge you." Qi Diaoyu's indifferent voice immediately caused a furor. The sudden appearance of Qi Diaoyu at this time attracted speculations from many people. Was he helping out Xiao Mogu? With an icy expression, Nanmen Shui suddenly smiled, "As I expected." Even though the other did not say what was expected, Qi Diaoyu's expression suddenly changed. Not good, he had fallen for a trap. His body suddenly flashed. Almost at the same time, Nanmen Shui appeared in front and blocked his path. Nanmen Shui smiled, showing his teeth. "Since Brother Qi wants to challenge me, then let's have a good fight." The two top experts were at a standoff and the fight could be set off by anything. Zuo snuck out the back door after following the servant. In order to disguise himself, Zuo put on a little illusory art on his face. He felt grateful to Qi Diaoyu who had appeared. This was a good person. Just after coming out of the door, he heard Xiaogua who was under his arms say in a trembling voice, "Xixiang, is it you?" Zuo stopped walking and lightly rubbed Xiaogua's head with his hand. Xiaogua is really smart. Xiaogua couldn't hold it back any longer and started to cry as she hugged Zuo. Like a child, she hugged Zuo tightly, tears and snot flowing down. Zuo sighed inside as he lightly patted Xiaogua. Li Yingfeng also reacted at this time, and there was a disbelieving joy on her face. "Zuo, are you really Zuo?" Zuo said with a smile, "Li Shiji, I'm still used to you calling me Zwashitty. Li Yingfeng also could not hold it back and cried from joy. Zhuaremo did not know how to comfort them and could only pat the two of them lightly. There were not many people on the streets, as all of them were focused on the face-off between Qi Diaoyu and Nanmen Shui in the air. Zhuaremo abruptly stopped walking and said lightly, "An enemy is present." He warily scanned the surroundings as he slowly put Xiaogua and Li Yingfeng down. Hearing this, the two immediately stopped crying. The scenery around him suddenly twisted. The trees on the road seemed to be kneaded into a ball by an invisible hand. In a flash, the surroundings around the three of them were completely transformed. Xiaogua and Li Yingfeng had ashen faces. However, they did not make a sound in fear they would disturb Zhuaremo domain. Zhuaremo's gaze suddenly became icy. This was an ambush that had been planned. By the time he had detected that something was wrong, he had already fallen for the enemy's trap. They had actually sent an expert that comprehended domain to ambush him. A golem of mud slowly rose from the ground. His body was covered in wet mud and only the general shape of a person could be seen. "Who are you?" Zhuaremo thought of Nanmen Shui who had just challenged him. He felt there was a connection between the two of them. He suddenly said, "So Nanmen Shui has given his allegiance to you people. You are actually smart." The other reflexively responded, but he immediately realized that he had fallen for a trap. He smiled darkly. "Your realization has come too late. If you want someone to blame, blame Qi Diaoyu for being too dumb." Qi Diaoyu? Shock flashed through Zhuaremo's mind. How was this matter related to Qi Diaoyu? However, no matter how hard he thought, he could not think what connection he had to Qi Diaoyu. It is useless no matter how much you think about it. Submit peacefully." The mud golem smiled darkly. Zhuaremo suddenly felt his feet become heavy and his body sank down slowly. At some unknown time, the hard ground under his feet became soft mud like that of a bog. There was a strong attraction force that came from within the bog that pulled the bodies of the three of them downwards. This was strange. The strange presence of corrosiveness were in wisps that burrowed into Zhuaremo's body like insects. Xiaogua and Li Yingfeng's expressions were ashen. Their cultivation was too low and they were fragile in front of a domain. Zhuaremo plucked the two of them from the bog and put them on his back. With his strength, the mass of the two women was negligible. But when he did this, his body suddenly sank further. The bog reached past his calves. The dark and cold presences were like a group of strange and mad insects that continuously burrowed into his body. But the sun crystal seed in Zhuaremo's body would not tolerate its territory being invaded. It immediately sent out a few streams of fire that swept out, clearing out the dark and cold energies. He had the sun crystal seed and he cultivated the 10-crow celestial apparatus. While he could not be invaded by anything evil no matter how Zhuaremo struggled, he could not break free of the force that was pulling him down. Watching as he continued to sink, Zhuaremo could not care for anything else and activated his still incomplete 10-crow celestial domain. A dash of red light spread from Zhuaremo's feet. Zhuaremo felt his feet lighten and his body rose up slightly. "Oh, I had assumed that you would use the reversed stellar revolution first, not your incomplete 10-crow celestial domain." The mud golem smiled darkly. "The 10-crow celestial domain is powerful, but that is only after you achieve it. It is naive to think you can stop me with what it is now." The bog suddenly spread from under Zhuaremo's feet. In a blink, what Zhuaremo could see was just a bog as vast as the ocean. The strong force pulling his feet had multiplied. It was like there was a monster hiding under the bog that was pulling him down. The power was so strong that Zhuaremo almost couldn't raise his arm. In a blink, the mud reached his knees. Damn it! Zhuaremo had not expected that he wouldn't have any power to fight back. His gaze landed on the reversed stellar revolution. His mind shifted and the handful of sparks shot at the mud golem. The mud golem laughed and suddenly entered the bog. His body disappeared and the sparks missed. "Slightly interesting." The voice came from behind Zhuaremo. The mud golem appeared behind Zhuaremo like a ghost. His tone carried a hint of smugness. "I heard that it was your reversed stellar revolution that defeated the Peacock King Plume?" It seems that the Peacock King plume isn't anything special after all. So disappointing. Zuoremo was silent. The handful of sparks turned into a stream of light and shot behind him. Almost at the same time, a mud golem suddenly rose from the bog in front of him. Is this the extent of your abilities? The mud golem was slightly disappointed. If this is all you can do, then your life will end here today. As he finished speaking, one mud golem after another slowly rose up from the bog. In a flash, there were an endless amount of mud golems. Chapter 612, The Mud Golem Mo Visitor. Why had the other ambushed him? This thought flashed through Zuomo's mind before disappearing. He closely watched the mud golems that rose from the bog of mud. A strong feeling of danger caused all the hairs on his body to stand on end. This person's domain was not as bright and colorful as Xianxia's Peacock Eye Spot domain, but Zuomo could feel that the other's domain was more complete than Xianxia's. This person was more experienced than Xinyu. From the ambush in the beginning, to even this action, they were not slow or rushed. He controlled the pace of battle. This was very terrifying. Expert. A definite expert. The reversed stellar revolution returned to Zuomo's hand. The strong power pulling down on his feet constantly disrupted Zuomo's focus. There was no leverage in the bog. Regardless of how strong Zuomo was, he could not use his strength. The mud domain of the ambusher was the perfect counter to Zuomo. This was an ambush that had been planned for a long time, and the enemy found his weakness. After this short contact, he landed in a well-planned net. However, how could he admit defeat so easily? Waves of heat came from the reversed stellar revolution. The muddy water that flew at him was stopped. Every spark in the reversed stellar revolution was formed from sun shin power. The other definitely would not have thought of this. Zuomo smirked coldly, and the hand with reversed stellar revolution suddenly pushed into the muddy bog under his feet. Boom! The bog under his feet trembled violently, followed by a sudden scream so loud, it almost ruptured Zuomo's eardrums. Streams of steam rose up, and his vision was shrouded in white. The strongest quality of a bog was its flexibility. This was something given to it by water. Water was the greatest bane of fire, but the opposite was also true. If the fire was strong enough, it could subdue water. Zuomo's reversed stellar revolution was made from sun shin power and unparalleled in its fire attribute. There had been many tribal heroes that had been turned to ash under the power of the sun shin power. When the sparks entered the bog, the domineering fire attribute of sun shin power was completely stimulated. In a flash, every spark expanded and turned into a ball of fire. Like a flood of fire, the reversed stellar revolution rampaged under the bog. Everywhere it passed, the moisture in the bog dried up. When the dried soil was passed over by the wave of fire, it melted and turned into beads of glass. If one looked down from the sky, they could see that heat wave was spreading rapidly with Zuomo at the epicenter. Everywhere it passed, the mud golems seemed to be paralyzed and immediately lost their moisture as they stood. The mud golem was stunned and wanted to escape, but the sun shin power was too strong. Before his feet could leave the bog, the sun shin power spread to him. The mud golem lost moisture in front of Zuomo at a visible rate and turned into a statue. Then the statue started to crumble as though it was weathered by sand. The pieces of mud dropped to the ground and smashed into dust. The speed of crumbling increased, and it finally could not stand under its own weight and turned into a pile of dust. Boom! On the dry bog, the numerous mud golems seemed to have received an order and collapsed at the same time. The scene was spectacular. On Zuomo's back, Xiaogua and Li Yingfeng were dumbstruck with wide eyes. Zuoxixiang, was this powerful? The reversed stellar revolution once again returned to Zuomo's hand. Once it back came to him, Zuomo found that the color of the reversed stellar revolution was much dimmer than before. The scenery around them resumed to normal. The streets were normal. Those that were walking nearby didn't even detect that a battle of life and death had occurred here just now. There was only a pile of mud specks in front of Zuomo. Coincidentally, a gust of wind blew, and the powder was caught up. It dissipated into the air. He did not have a smug expression. Mo cautiously inspected the surroundings, and without a word, started to sprint. Moments later, two figures appeared at where Mo had been fighting. We underestimated him. Yes, never thought that even the mud golem Mo guessed would not be a match for him. The appearance of Qi Diao Yu has proven our speculation. Xiao Mo Gu is that person. Nan Men Shui has been exposed. His original use was to be exposed. He can help attract attention from us when we act. What do we do now? Do not be impatient. One throws a rock to test the road. As the rock is thrown, there naturally are people that cannot bear the loneliness. Mo sprinted back to the compound without any other trouble. When he reached the compound and saw Shu Long and the others, he finally sighed in relief. Everyone saw Xiaogua and Li Yingfeng, whose Mo was holding, and perceptively did not ask. When they returned to the inner compound, Mo's mind finally relaxed. Xiaogua asked timidly, "Xixiang?" Mo turned his head and smiled at Xiaogua. "Were you frightened?" "A little bit." Xiaogua timidly nodded. She seemed to have returned to the time of Wukong sword sect, with that Xixiang that kept supporting her having returned to her side. She felt as though she was dreaming. For some reason, the rims of her eyes reddened and her voice went deeper. "Xixiang is very strong." Li Yingfeng's eyes were also red. The experiences she had were like a nightmare. However, she was trying to be strong and forced it back. She said, "Xixiang, if you have matters at hand, you can attend to them first." She saw the people in the yard continuously bowing to Mo. Even though she was filled with surprise, she understood that Mo was the leader of this group. The ambush on the road just now had been unusual, and Xixiang definitely had matters to take care of. "You should prepare. We might leave this place immediately," Mo said gravely. Then he turned and walked towards the outside. Shu Long saw Mo come out of the yard and move towards him. "Darren?" Mo asked directly, "Is everyone here?" Shu Long stilled but then immediately understood. Something had happened. He said after a moment of thought, "Awen, Nanyu, Song Zhe, Mingju Zi, the black and orange Yao are all at the Mo skill steals. Send someone immediately to call them back," Mo said gravely. "Have everyone else pack up. When they come back, we will leave here immediately." "Yes." Shu Long heard the urgency of the commands. Without another word, he turned and left. Mo's face was dark. He had a feeling that a large whirlpool that he could not see was coming closer to him. The black smoke Yao devoutly studied the characters on the steel in front of him. He had an eidetic memory and did not forget what he saw. In these past days, he had visited almost every one of the Mo skill steals. But his gaze landed on Awen and Big Orange. Awen did not pay attention to anything in the environment. His hands subconsciously moved. Even the black smoke Yao could feel the hint of profoundness in those normal movements. Big Orange was completely different. He paced in front of the steel like an ant on top of a fire, and then grabbed at his hair. Sometimes he would talk to the sky. His orange hair now looked like a bird's nest. He could not just hold still. The lightning, hail, and flames that erupted around his body was frightening, which caused the Mo skill steels around him to be empty. These two freaks. The black smoke Yao felt great admiration. These two had the best talent out of the group. He did not know Owen well, but he felt deep admiration for how Big Orange, someone with such an unusual mind, had great talent. While he admired it, he felt even happier for Big Orange. Truthfully, when he had first found those cultivation notes, he had discovered that Big Orange had much greater talent than he did. This was also why he had pulled Big Orange along on this journey. However, the black smoke Yao also found that with every Mo skill steal imprinted in his mind, he quickly noticed something that was overlooked by all the others. There were some descriptive phrases that would appear on some steals. These phrases were not long and appeared normal. Some were related to philosophy and others that were hard to understand. But the black smoke Yao was an attentive person. When he found these phrases, he thought of the notes he had found. Phrases like these had also appeared in the notes. The notes had said that Shi Ziming had always been searching for something. He had roamed the three realms of Yao, Mo, and Xiu in search of this thing. The followers did not know what Shi Ziming was searching for, but he had faithfully copied down what Shi Ziming had said. Those words and the phrases that appeared on the steels were in the same style. Was there a secret contained in these? That was the first thought that flashed through the Black Smoke Yao's mind. He felt very excited by this idea. His cultivation talent was not as great as the orange-haired Yao, but his intelligence was outstanding. These phrases scattered on the steels, that did not attract much attention, were like an unknown secret that deeply attracted him. He started to organize all the stone steels in his mind. His powerful memory was extremely useful. He quickly picked out those phrases that were unrelated to cultivation from all the stone steels. Consequently, he quickly found that several of the phrases had appeared in the notes as well. This result caused the Black Smoke Yao to become even more excited. The time of the notes should have been the time that Shi Ziming had been roaming. Shi Ziming had said these words during that time he traveled, and Shi Ziming had only built Great Peace City many years later. He had engraved these exact words onto the MO skill steels. It was not a coincidence. There definitely was a deeper meaning contained in these phrases that other people did not know. Thinking about the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion that everyone was talking about, the Black Smoke Yao's mind moved. Were these phrases related to the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion? When he had first heard the rumors, he had researched the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. It had existed at the beginning of Great Peace City, but Shi Ziming had eventually sealed it and it gradually faded from people's minds. Why had Shi Ziming sealed the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion? What was really inside the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion? This was a riddle that had never been solved. When the Black Smoke Yao carefully pondered the phrases he copied from the steels, he seemed to see an almost indiscernible line connecting the puzzle pieces. Chapter 613, Conspiracy. Looking at the enemy battalion crumbling in front of him, Gong Suncha's expression was as calm as usual. Beside him, a thread of fearful respect flashed through Zhage's eyes. The battalion that was falling apart in front of them was the 9th Battalion that they had defeated. Lil Miss Darren was really too powerful. He could not describe his respect and reverence of Lil Miss Darren. Zhage had been one of the 3 great battle generals of the Rahula clan and held a high opinion of himself. But after he personally saw Lil Miss Darren's terrifying control of the battlefield, he was left with deep respect. He never believed that a battle general could be so powerful, winning every battle with undefeatable attacks. All 9 battalions had crumbled in engagement round. Vermilion Bird Camp was like a peerlessly sharp blade. Nothing could stop its advance. As a battle general that was here due to surrendering, Zhage knew that he needed to do more than other people in order to earn his place in this faction. Right now, he was full of confidence in this faction. He was full of confidence in its strength and vitality. Their battalion's performance would directly affect the well-being of his clansmen. Zhage and his battalion worked very hard. However, he quickly discovered that Lil Miss Darren did not think of them as cannon fodder. Whenever they encountered a powerful battalion, Vermilion Bird Camp always charged at the very front. Zhage was left feeling grateful. In the MO realm where the strong ate the weak, surrendered battalions like theirs were usually used at the front line and given the most dangerous positions. The rate of death was very high, and they received the worst supplies. No one cared about their life or death. But here, Lil Miss Darren did not have any negative opinions about them. He frequently took care of them and taught them. They did not need to worry that they would be used as cannon fodder, and no one would hate them because they were MO. Everyone held an account of favors and grievances in their heart. Zhage held one, and so did his soldiers. What they could do in response was fight as hard as they could. Even though Vermilion Bird Camp took the lead in the majority of battles, Zhage battalion also experienced several hard battles. As the state of affairs in the MO world continued to escalate, the skill level of battalions in each area continuously rose. The leader of every faction understood that without a powerful battalion, they would not be able to survive in such chaotic times. Every battle they experienced was not easy. Compared to Vermilion Bird Camp that was unstoppable, Zhage battalion had a much harder time. Almost a sixth of the battalion had died. But the overall strength of the battalion skyrocketed. Every elite force was forged in countless difficult battles. This was not a lie. After several battles, a Zhaga battalion had gained the morale of an elite force. Everyone had steadier presences, and their teamwork rose. The fatality rate decreased drastically. In the battle just now, only 9 people had died. Even though they had only just gone a quarter of the journey, everyone was filled with confidence. Rest for the night. We will advance in the morning. As the sun set, Lil Miss orders echoed in the silent battlefield. What did you say? Yelled the sound fall Jia master. He could be heard from far away. Darren. This is true. The East Lu battalion of East Lu Jie only managed to resist for 1 hour. The subordinate's voice trembled. This subordinate saw it. It is true. 1 hour. The Jie master's expression almost froze on his face. A moment later, he murmured in disbelief, how is it possible? The strength of East Lu battalion. He knew very well that East Lu battalion was on par with the strongest battalion under his command. This battalion that came out of nowhere was this strong? 1 hour. Darren. The subordinate hurriedly said, this battalion of unknown origins did not occupy East Lu Jie. Did not occupy at East Lu Jie? The Jie master focused and was very curious. Why didn't they take over East Lu Jie? This subordinate also did not understand. According to what this subordinate heard, they did not take over any of the Jie that they passed. This subordinate speculates that they are traveling. This subordinate caught some of the survivors from East Lu battalion and discovered after interrogating them that this battalion had requested for East Lu battalion to let them pass. They were refused by East Lu battalion and then they attacked East Lu battalion. Are they only just passing through? The Jie master felt that this was a joke. This subordinate thinks so. I don't believe. Darren. This battalion has defeated 9 battalions along their way. They are so strong they can rank within the top 50 battalion of 100 Savage Realm. If they want to attack Sound Fall Jie, this subordinate fears. The subordinate did not continue, but the words did not have to be spoken. The Jie master hesitated for a while before gritting his teeth and saying, allow them to pass, and prepare our forces in case you are wrong. But do not attack first. Zhuo Mo's expression was terrible. Wen and the others had suddenly disappeared. The people of guard camp searched through all of the steel forest and did not find a shadow of Wen and the others. Having just experienced the ambush, Zhuo Mo's first conclusion and reaction was someone conspiring against them? But he quickly shook his head. Wen's group was 6 people. If they were attacked, there wasn't any way that it would have gone completely unnoticed. Guard camp who had gone to search for them had asked the other people in the steel forest. Those people had all nodded and said the group had been there just a while ago. The orange-haired Yao was too eye-catching to forget. But no one knew how they had disappeared. If someone wanted to steal away these 6 people without any disturbance, it was only possible if the kidnappers were all experts, attacked before they could react, and had attacked with equal numbers. Was it then possible? There was no trace of Nan Yu and the others in the 10-finger prison. Someone is targeting you, Pu Yao said coldly. Starting with Nanmen Shui, this string of events is not quite right, Wei followed. I'll go find Nanmen Shui. Zhuo Mo thought and then said, there is no use. Pu Yao shook his head. Nanmen Shui is clearly a pawn thrown out as a distraction. He probably acted because of a transaction he made. He probably doesn't know anything at all. What solutions do you have? Zhuo Mo suppressed the murderousness inside his chest and asked Pu Yao. Pu Yao said, the best way is to remain calm and not do anything. Wei explained, if they were really kidnapped, the culprit's true target is you. No matter what aims the other have, they will come find you. You need to wait and be calm. Zhuo Mo thought and then felt the 2 of them were right. He forced himself to calm down. He suddenly felt he was very stupid. In terms of scheming, there wasn't anyone more skilled than these 2 old bandits. What was he doing thinking by himself? You say that they are targeting me? But Zhuo Mo decided to throw the problem to the 2 old bandits. A bloody light danced in Pu Yao's bloody pupil. He felt slightly excited. It had been too long since such an exciting event. His mind worked quickly as he said, first, it definitely isn't a grudge. The ambusher today did not try and assassinate you, They wanted to capture you alive. Zuaremo thought back and immediately found it reasonable. Yes, after you mentioned this, I have also noticed it. He did not use a killing move. He wanted to capture you but not kill you, so the possibility that this was motivated by a grudge is not high. Then it must be that you have something that they want, or they want you to do something. As expected from old bandits. After a few sentences, Zuaremo immediately felt his thoughts clear up. What do I have? What can I do? You have many things. Like Shen Power, the Sun Crystal Seed, these are all objects that people would want, Wei said slowly. There are even more things you can do. For example, seduce Princess Xia. Ha! Pu Yao heartlessly roared with laughter. Zuaremo was slightly angry. You are in the mood to make a joke at this time? Relax. Wei said with a smile, the more normal you appear now, the less the other will be able to keep calm. You do you mean? Zuaremo wasn't able to react. Do what you had planned to do before, like the 2 invitations the princesses sent you. Why don't you go? It is good if you listen to what they say. Wei urged. You are not the local snakehead, you do not have any spies. If you want to lure others out, you will have to act as bait. The more people you come into contact with, the more panicked the other will be because they cannot guess what you will think of doing next, and what you plan. A cold smile rose at the corner of Pu Yao's lip. What a schemer is most afraid of is not knowing. With the 2 old bandits supporting him, Zuaremo felt reassured. He did not make any ruckus over the disappearances, but he quickly received a letter from Lan Tianlong. The letter said that they were thinking of ways to help him search for his missing subordinates and told him to be careful of his own safety. Moved, Zuaremo immediately realized that the entire city probably knew that Wen and the others had disappeared. This was not strange. Guard camp had not concealed themselves when they were searching and had asked many other people. The news would not be able to be concealed. Princess Xia also quickly sent someone with a letter. The contents were generally the same. It said that she would help ask around for him and tell him if she had news. Princess Xia's letter caused Pu Yao and Wei to become excited again. The 2 said that Princess Xia was perusing Zuaremo and urged Zuaremo to work her harder to get this pretty flower. Inside, Zuaremo thought that the 2 old bandits wanted to retaliate against Princess Xia. Also, in his mind, Princess Xia was his friend to whom he also owed her a favor. How could he harm her? He completely disregarded the suggestions from the 2 fogies. The letters from all the families quickly followed. Right now, Xiao Imogo was a personage and had a limitless future. There were many that wanted to establish relationships with him. But there was no information about Wen and the others at all in these letters. There was also no news from the 10-finger prison. The guard around Zuaremo's yard became even heavier. Patiently waiting for news, Zuaremo cultivated like usual. Suddenly, he felt a strange ripple come from his ring. And what was this? Zuaremo's mind moved, and then immediately, he had a joyful expression. Chapter 614, The Awoken Black Gold Seal Soldier. A lazy yawn floated out of the ring. Then a figure flashed and a dark gold figure appeared in front of Zuaremo. The Black Gold Seal Soldier. The face that was a mirror image of Zuaremo's instantly smiled, and then he rushed over. Big brow, I'm hungry, is there something to eat? Zuaremo's brow twitched. This glutton. He had already eaten all 200 ling beasts in one go and then had slept until now. Once he opened his eyes, what he wanted to do first was eat. No. Zuaremo's face was stern as he stared with unfriendliness at the glutton in front of him. The Black Gold Seal Soldier suddenly sniffed. His eyes lit up and then his body disappeared. Wails from Emo's steeds came from outside the room. Zuaremo smacked his forehead with his hand. He looked upwards and was speechless. Little Emogo had always been clever and rarely got involved in unprofitable business. However, he tripped up on this glutton. A ball of wind blew by and the Black Gold Seal Soldier appeared in front of Zuaremo. He licked his lips and said with discontent, there wasn't much flavor. Zuaremo's already unfriendly glance immediately became even more unfriendly. He decided to have a good talk with the Black Gold Seal Soldier. It was best to adjust the incorrect perspectives of a delinquent youth now from just knowing to eat and sleep. You want to eat well? Zuorimo had a pure smile. Of course. The black gold seal soldier's eyes lit up. Big bro, where? If you want to eat well, you have to work hard. Those that work can eat, those that don't work can't. The more you work, the more you can eat. Zuorimo said with a smile. His expression was very similar to Wei. Bam bam bam. The black gold seal soldier beat his chest and it rang out metallically. He said with bravado, Big bro, I'll do what you say. Good. This delinquent youth was not at a level that was unsavable. Zuorimo rejoiced inside and his eyes moved. Do you know how to fight? Born to battle. The black gold seal soldier paused slightly and then said seriously, I will fight if there is food, but I will not fight if there is no food. I will fight more if there is more food. Zuorimo's smile froze on his face. So other than looking the same as him, this guy was as cunning as he was. Zuorimo felt a headache. Just at this time, Xianxia suddenly walked in. She saw the black gold seal soldier with his familiar appearance and had a curious expression. What is this? She pointed at the black gold seal soldier and asked Zuorimo, Miss, please do not use terms casually. The black gold seal soldier said seriously, I am not a thing, I am black gold. Oh, big bro, who is she? This girl is pretty beautifully, big bro, your tastes finally leveled up. However, you abandoned a Gue? Big bro, how can you do that? You abandoned the first wife, I had a wrong opinion of you. As expected of my big bro, a cruel rake, a libertine, I need to learn from you. Zuorimo wanted to die. Other than being a glutton and a sleeper, this was a chatterbox. Heavens, so many valuable materials wasted on creating him, all of it for nothing, truly no profit at all. Xianxia looked with interest at the black gold seal soldier. The black gold seal soldier had keen eyes and rushed to Agui's side like a gust of wind when he saw her. The Ague, big brother didn't abandon you. I was just saying big bro is such an honorable person, how could he abandon Ague? Ague, is there something to eat? I'm so hungry. Ague suddenly turned around and walked outside. The black gold seal soldier immediately followed behind her and started to flatter her. Zuorimo was dumbstruck. He is. There was a smile at the corner of Xianxia's mouth. This caused her eyes to become even more alluring. A terrible accident. Zuorimo spread his hands with an expression of distaste. There are many Xianxia that have come to Great Peace City. Xianxia suddenly said. Xianxia? Zuorimo stilled. After staying for so long in the MO world, even he felt slightly unfamiliar when he heard the word Xianxia. Xianxia's eyes curved slightly as she said, it is the 4 great sections. At least 20 people, and some are very strong. Their disguise is very good, no one has discovered them yet. The 4 great? Zuorimo was surprised and his expression immediately turned grave. How come the 4 have come? Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. Xianxia spat out the 4 words. Great Peace Treasure Pavilion? Zuorimo didn't quite believe it. What kind of sects were the 4 great sections? When the Sunshin Temple in Cloud Sijia had opened, only Tianhuan had come. And even then they had sent just 1 Yuaning Xianxia. For sects like the Great 4 that had a long history, there were very few treasure hoards that they would target. Zuorimo didn't quite believe that the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion would attract the Great 4. I fought against them. When Xianxia threw the words out, she scared Zuorimo half to death. You're crazy. Now he believed it and immediately felt a headache. On this side, Wen and the others had suddenly disappeared and there were undercurrents swirling in Great Peace City. Now, even the Xianxia had come to participate. Even as dumb as he was, he knew the situation would become even more complex. He suddenly thought of a question. What is in the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion? Why would even the 4 great sects of the Xianxia come? Xianxia was silent. Zuorimo stared directly at her. A moment later, she said serenely, inside the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion, there are 3 treasures. The other 2 are unidentified, but there is one that many people know of. It is a steal. A steal? There was a disbelieving expression on Zuorimo's face. The most crucial steel of the Great Peace Mo skill steals? Seng Lianer's eyes were blurry. Her voice was ethereal. Ever since the ancient era and after the era of Shen power, the Xiaoxia, Yao, and Mo have rose to power. Yao arts, Mo skills, Xiaoxia spells, these three cultivation methods have been the most popular. The method of Shen power cultivation has been lost, but as the cultivation realms increased, the experts of the three races found that they encountered a block in their cultivation. They tried many ways to surpass this blockade, but they could not break through this barrier. Zuoremo listened quietly. Seng Lianer's ethereal voice added a faint mysteriousness to these secrets. These ancestors traced back to the origins of cultivation for multiple generations and found that the only method of breaking through this barrier is to cultivate Shen power. All three powers are derived from Shen power, but because of this they are all also incomplete. When the three powers are cultivated to their limits, if one wants to increase further in power, they have to return to Shen power. However, the way to cultivate Shen power was lost long ago. They started to search for all kinds of Shen power inheritances, but they are all unable to be connected with the present cultivation systems. The legends say that Shi Ziming found the solution. This Mo skill steal records his knowledge, but Shi Ziming did not dare to release the contents, so he sealed it in the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. You also have come for this steal? Mo stared at Seng Liana. I didn't consider it in the beginning, Seng Lianer said serenely, but since I am here, why not? You already cultivate Shen power, what is the use in having that? Mo asked in bewilderment. My Shen power inheritance is more complete than yours, but it has also lost sections over generations. This steal is very important to me and can supplement my Moonshen records. Seng Liana looked at Zuoremo and said, You are the most talented person I ever saw in cultivating Shen power. Other than you, I have never seen anyone perform Shen power breathing. However, your understanding of Shen power is not as good as mine. Even with your talent, you are still only knocking on the door of Shen power. Only by obtaining this steal can you finally step through the doorway to Shen power. Only now did Zuoremo understand why the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion was causing so many to be obsessed. What does all this have to do with me? Zuoremo smirked coldly. I was pulled in. Don't tell me this is a coincidence. It really isn't a coincidence. Seng Lianer's gaze was unfocused as she said serenely. The rumors are that 2 keys are required to open the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. No one knows what the first key is, but the second key is supposed to be a special person. Special person? Zuoremo stilled. He had never thought it would be such an absurd reason. He pointed at his nose and didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said, Is this special person me? Right now, you are the most likely? Seng Lianer's eyes curved with mirth. Zuoremo was dumbstruck. Why is it me? Causing shifting star sands at the Mo skill steals. You were the first to cause a worldly apparition there. Seng Lianer's eyes curled even more. Her flawless face was like a picure. Sure, you also seems to have an interest in you. Qi Diao, you discovered that you cultivate Shen power. He also discovered that I and Agui do too. It was such an absurd reason. There is something else you missed. When you achieved Shen power breathing, the Mo skill steals responded to you. The city only suspects that you are that person, but I am the only one certain that you are. Seng Lianer looked deeply at Zuoremo and then disappeared. Zuoremo was stunned by Seng Lianer's words. The black gold seal soldier followed behind Agui and looked around occasionally. He appeared sneaky and his nose moved with hunger on his face. Agui did not make a sound as she walked and jumped past the wall. It was as though she was walking on flat ground. She didn't attract any attention as she walked. The black gold seal soldier sneakily followed behind her with excitement and anticipation. With a few jumps, Agui led the black gold seal soldier into a yard. This was the yard of the celestial planet guards. Agui suddenly appeared behind a celestial planet guard like a ghost. With a light touch, this celestial planet guard immediately fell unconscious and dropped to the ground. Then Agui pushed open the wooden door that this celestial planet guard had been guarding. There were all kinds of Mo steeds inside. This was the stable where the celestial planet guard kept their Mo steeds. The Celestial Planet Guard was the personal guard of Tsing Yi, and their outfitted equipment was top-notch. Their MO steeds were not an exception to this. None of the MO steeds were of a low grade. The black gold seal soldier's eyes immediately lit up and started to drool. He opened his mouth and sucked. Hundreds of MO steeds were unable to react before they drastically shrank and fell into his mouth like a flood of dumplings. In a blink, the full pens were empty. The black gold seal soldier burped with a contented expression. He went to fawn over Ague. Ague was the best. At this moment, the smile on his face suddenly disappeared as he turned around. Murderousness flashed across the dark gold face that was a replica of Zhuamo's face. Someone was sneaking in. Chapter 615. Each, with their plan, Fei Fei's expression was extremely nervous. The security around this compound was so heavy that he found it hard to imagine. He seemed to have come to a very scary place. There were not many at his cultivation level that could rival his concealment and stealth movement. But even so, he almost fell for some of the traps along the way. If it wasn't that the woman's intentions were really strange, he would have immediately turned around and left. His intuition told him that this place was too dangerous. For the mission this time, the sect had used a hidden chaos rift. This chaos rift had been one that they had originally planned to use for an ambush at a crucial time. Even with these precautions, they had been attacked after just entering Great Peace City. A woman of unknown origins attacked without any warning. This woman was very strong, and even with the people from the sect fighting together, they were unable to capture her. She also seemed very certain they didn't dare to make too much of a ruckus. Had their identities been exposed? Everyone's hearts sank. All of them knew very well what it meant if their identities were exposed in the MO territories. When that mysterious woman left, Fei Fei hid himself and followed her from afar. The other was even warier than he had expected and took a winding path to shake of any tail. Fei Fei had almost lost track of her several times. In the end, this woman entered this estate. Fei Fei had originally decided to leave, but he had found a flaw in the defenses. He could not resist and sneaked in. A guard of this caliber was full of holes in his eyes. But after he entered, he found that the situation inside was the reverse of what he had imagined. The estate was better protected than he had imaged. That flaw he had seen seemed more like a trap. As he continued inwards, his wish to retreat increased. At this time, he suddenly saw a woman and a completely dark person walk over. He hurriedly hid and didn't dare to breathe. This woman was not like the woman that had attacked them. There weren't any energy ripples coming from her body. The dark gold person beside her seemed to be a MO puppet. However, was that really a MO puppet? The flattery was varied as it came out of the MO puppet's mouth. In the shadows, Fei Fei felt ashamed. If he had this level of skill in the sect, his status in the sect would not be what it was now. He was shocked as well. It was rare to see such a lifelike MO puppet. But the next scene caused his jaw to drop. Hundreds of MO steeds were swallowed up by the MO puppet. In Fei Fei's eyes, the small mouth of the dark gold MO puppet suddenly became a gaping maw that could consume anything. The MO puppet that swallowed MO steeds probably would also be interested in swallowing Xianxia. Thinking about how the MO puppet would consume him, Fei Fei trembled. Suddenly, the dark gold MO puppet turned his face and looked towards the corner he was in. Fei Fei's mind blanked. He was discovered. He was very experienced in battle and calmed down. He decisively activated his spell. His body blurred and he appeared on the verge of turning into a ball of mist. Fei Fei started with his life-saving ultimate technique, Smoke Travel Spell. Smoke Travel Spell was a 6th grade spell. It could turn a person's body into a ball of smoke that would dissipate. Once one turned to smoke, they could not attack the enemy, but the majority of attacks were ineffective against them. It was a top spell for escaping. This technique had saved Fei Fei an unknown number of times. So when he detected that the situation was not right, he immediately used the Smoke Travel Spell. He could detect the threat from the dark gold MO puppet. If he turned to light smoke, he could return to Xixiang's side. His smoke return pillar was on Xixiang's body. Yet just as he was about to successfully escape, the Mo puppet appeared in front of him. The black gold seal soldier stared at Fei Fei, whose body was becoming faint. His eyes were indifferent without any of the cheer that was just there. He reached out and an ancient character on his palm lit up. Fei Fei's eyes widened and terror showed on his face. The black gold seal soldier's hand already pressed onto Fei Fei, whose body was blurring, and then he quickly moved his palm away. The bright character was imprinted on Fei Fei's almost transparent body. Fei Fei's body melted at a visible rate like a snowman under a bright sun. Fei Fei's features twisted as he furiously screamed, but he couldn't make any sounds. The black gold seal soldier looked indifferently at him. Not 5 minutes later, Fei Fei completely disappeared. Clink. A light sound. It was a ring that dropped to the ground from the smoke. The black gold seal soldier picked up the ring. The indifference on his face disappeared. He was full of smiles like before as he presented the ring to a good. Fei Fei is dead. A hint of grief flashed through Lin Qian's eyes, but his tone was very cold. The other people stared at each other with sadness and terror in their eyes. Even though they all knew that the mission this time would be dangerous, no one had thought they would lose someone just after arriving in Great Peace City. Their start was not a good one. What that woman used was Shen power. Lin Qian's expression was calm as he said, "She should have come for the Great Peace Steel as well. Everyone be careful. Do not expose your identities before the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion appears." Yes. Everyone answered simultaneously, but it was apparent their morale had suffered. Lin Qian did not look at them and said to himself, "The mission is very hard and dangerous this time. Even I do not have the confidence of victory." But our Kunlun's thousands of years of prosperity was won by our forebears through life and death struggles. Now, the world is uncertain, and these next few decades will determine the next 1,000 years. His gaze landed on the other people and his authority came through in his indifference. On matters related to the fate of Kunlun, how can we retreat? Everyone's expressions steadied. Most of them were born in Kunlun and had deep feelings towards Kunlun. Their families were also at Kunlun and their lives were deeply connected to Kunlun. One person said in a deep voice, "Eldest Xixiang is right, even if we die, we will have a place in the Kunlun sword home. How can we, the people of Kunlun, fear those Yaoma? At most, it is just another 1,000-year battle." Lin Qian did not speak. Morale rose and everyone's gazes became more determined. This time, those that were selected were all yuanying experts. All of them had strong sword hearts and their spirits rose. When the noise faded, Lin Qian said with a small smile, "Even if that person recognized us, that is all right. Great Peace City is a gathering of many Mo factions and the complexity of the situation is almost unimaginable. These Mo all have their own plans and are suspicious about those around them. There are also people making waves from the shadows to muddy the waters. We are just one of the factors in Great Peace City. Some people will care about our identities, but there are also people that hope we have come to disrupt the situation and provide them with an opportunity." Everyone nodded and agreed when they heard this. So the plan will not change. The celestial planet guard was in a furor. All the Mo steeds in the beast pens had disappeared. What was even more crazy was that there wasn't any signs of fighting near the beast pens. Shou Ping's face was black. Someone had come and stolen all the Mo steeds. This had actually occurred under his leadership. Miss hadn't said anything, but Shou Ping was so ashamed he wanted to burrow into a crack in the ground. Nothing had happened to the other yards, only his steeds had been stolen from. Embarrassing. Too embarrassing. The Celestial Planet Guard had been at the bottom of the pack in cultivation. How could the proud Shou Ping tolerate something like this happening? The pitiful Celestial Planet Guards were tormented to death because of a glutton. But the culprit had forgotten about this matter. "This is part of your plan?" Nan Men Shui stared coldly at the person in front of him. This male shook his head. "We did not do this." "I do not believe it." Nan Men Shui said coldly, "Our partnership ends now. I have great doubts about your sincerity." The male's expression was normal. He still shook his head. "We did not do this. We had sent people to capture Xiao Mo Gu, but he killed them. The disappearance of his subordinates has nothing to do with us." We are also investigating, but there hasn't been any clues yet. Nanmen Shui stared at the other. Seeing that the other's expression did not change, he believed that the other had not lied. Now all clues point towards me, Nanmen Shui said coldly. Don't tell me you do not have other plans? We do, the male said gravely. We are now sure that Xiao Mo is that crucial person. However, we are not the only ones to realize this. The other people probably also have as well. Nanmen Shui listened silently and did not speak. Right now, everyone is looking at Xiao Mo. As long as we are not targeting Xiao Mo, no one would care about us, the male said calmly. The waters of Great Peace City have started to muddy. He suddenly smiled. They are all staring at Xiao Mo, so we will go find the other key to Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. You know who has the key? Nanmen Shui was shocked. No. The male smiled slightly. We have a few targets. Nanmen Shui started at the other and suddenly said, Is there anything I need to do? Of course. The male had a satisfied expression. You are an integral part of our plan. Then he told Nanmen Shui his plan in a lowered voice. Nanmen Shui's eyes were bright as he listened and nodded occasionally. The other's plan was outstanding. However, when the other finished telling him the plan, Nanmen Shui looked at the other and smiled. It is an outstanding plan. However, I want the fire heart gall. The other's brow furrowed. As long as you complete, Nanmen Shui shook his head. I want it now. The other's expression changed slightly. That is not possible. Really? Nanmen Shui smiled and said, Your plan is so exquisite and detailed. If one part goes wrong, the whole plan falls apart. So many steps are related to me, I am a very important pawn. There is no benefit if you go back on your word. You will regret it. The other's face was dark as he gritted out. Fire heart gall or you lose, choose one. Nanmen Shui still smiled. Oh, right, I believe that you can also see that it is not a very easy matter if you want to withdraw from our partnership now. The other's complexion was ashen. Chapter 616, each with their plan. Fei Fei's expression was extremely nervous. The security around this compound was so heavy that he found it hard to imagine. He seemed to have come to a very scary place. There were not many at his cultivation level that could rival his concealment and stealth movement. But even so, he almost fell for some of the traps along the way. If it wasn't that the woman's intentions were really strange, he would have immediately turned around and left. His intuition told him that this place was too dangerous. For the mission this time, the sect had used a hidden chaos rift. This chaos rift had been one that they had originally planned to use for an ambush at a crucial time. Even with these precautions, they had been attacked after just entering Great Peace City. A woman of unknown origins attacked without any warning. This woman was very strong, and even with the people from the sect fighting together, they were unable to capture her. She also seemed very certain they didn't dare to make too much of a ruckus. Had their identities been exposed? Everyone's hearts sank. All of them knew very well what it meant if their identities were exposed in the Mo territories. When that mysterious woman left, Fei Fei hid himself and followed her from afar. The other was even warier than he had expected and took a winding path to shake of any tail. Fei Fei had almost lost track of her several times. In the end, this woman entered this estate. Fei Fei had originally decided to leave, but he had found a flaw in the defenses. He could not resist and sneaked in. A guard of this caliber was full of holes in his eyes. But after he entered, he found that the situation inside was the reverse of what he had imagined. The estate was better protected than he had imaged. That flaw he had seen seemed more like a trap. As he continued inwards, his wish to retreat increased. At this time, he suddenly saw a woman and a completely dark person walk over. He hurriedly hid and didn't dare to breathe. This woman was not like the woman that had attacked them. There weren't any energy ripples coming from her body. The dark gold person beside her seemed to be a Mo puppet. However, was that really a Mo puppet? The flattery was varied as it came out of the Mo puppet's mouth. In the shadows, Fei Fei felt ashamed. If he had this level of skill in the sect, his status in the sect would not be what it was now. He was shocked as well. It was rare to see such a lifelike Mo puppet. But the next scene caused his jaw to drop. Hundreds of Mo steeds were swallowed up by the Mo puppet. In Fei Fei's eyes, the small mouth of the dark gold Mo puppet suddenly became a gaping maw that could consume anything. The Mo puppet that swallowed Mo steeds probably would also be interested in swallowing Xianxia. Thinking about how the Mo puppet would consume him, Fei Fei trembled. Suddenly, the dark gold Mo puppet turned his face and looked towards the corner he was in. Fei Fei's mind blanked. He was discovered. He was very experienced in battle and calmed down. He decisively activated his spell. His body blurred and he appeared on the verge of turning into a ball of mist. Fei Fei started with his life-saving ultimate technique, Smoke Travel Spell. Smoke Travel Spell was a 6th grade spell. It could turn a person's body into a ball of smoke that would dissipate. Once one turned to smoke, they could not attack the enemy, but the majority of attacks were ineffective against them. It was a top spell for escaping. This technique had saved Fei Fei an unknown number of times. So when he detected that the situation was not right, he immediately used the Smoke Travel Spell. He could detect the threat from the dark gold Mo puppet. If he turned to light smoke, he could return to Xianxia's side. His smoke return pillar was on Xianxia's body. Yet just as he was about to successfully escape, the Mo puppet appeared in front of him. The black gold seal soldier stared at Fei Fei, whose body was becoming faint. His eyes were indifferent without any of the cheer that was just there. He reached out and an ancient character on his palm lit up. Fei Fei's eyes widened and terror showed on his face. The black gold seal soldier's hand already pressed onto Fei Fei, whose body was blurring, and then he quickly moved his palm away. The bright character was imprinted on Fei Fei's almost transparent body. Fei Fei's body melted at a visible rate like a snowman under a bright sun. Fei Fei's features twisted as he furiously screamed, but he couldn't make any sounds. The black gold seal soldier looked indifferently at him. Not 5 minutes later, Fei Fei completely disappeared. Clink. A light sound. It was ring that dropped to the ground from the smoke. The black gold seal soldier picked up the ring. The indifference on his face disappeared. He was full of smiles like before as he presented the ring to a good. Fei Fei is dead. A hint of grief flashed through Lin Qian's eyes, but his tone was very cold. The other people stared at each other with sadness and terror in their eyes. Even though they all knew that the mission this time would be dangerous, no one had thought they would lose someone just after arriving in Great Peace City. Their start was not a good one. What that woman used was Shen power. Lin Qian's expression was calm as he said, "She should have come for the Great Peace Steel as well. Everyone be careful. Do not expose your identities before the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion appears." Yes. Everyone answered simultaneously, but it was apparent their morale had suffered. Lin Qian did not look at them and said to himself, "The mission is very hard and dangerous this time. Even I do not have the confidence of victory." But our Kunlun's thousands of years of prosperity was won by our forebears through life and death struggles. Now, the world is uncertain, and these next few decades will determine the next 1,000 years. His gaze landed on the other people and his authority came through in his indifference. On matters related to the fate of Kunlun, how can we retreat? Everyone's expressions steadied. Most of them were born in Kunlun and had deep feelings towards Kunlun. Their families were also at Kunlun and their lives were deeply connected to Kunlun. One person said in a deep voice, "Eldest Xixiang is right, even if we die, we will have a place in the Kunlun sword home. How can we, the people of Kunlun, fear those Yaoma? At most, it is just another 1,000-year battle." Lin Qian did not speak. Morale rose and everyone's gazes became more determined. This time, those that were selected were all Yuanying experts. All of them had strong sword hearts and their spirits rose. When the noise faded, Lin Qian said with a small smile, "Even if that person recognized us, that is all right. Great Peace City is a gathering of many Mo factions and the complexity of the situation is almost unimaginable. These Mo all have their own plans and are suspicious about those around them. There are also people making waves from the shadows to muddy the waters. We are just one of the factors in Great Peace City. Some people will care about our identities, But there are also people that hope we have come to disrupt the situation and provide them with an opportunity. Everyone nodded and agreed when they heard this. So the plan will not change. The celestial planet guard was in a furor. All the MO steeds in the beast pens had disappeared. What was even more crazy was that there wasn't any signs of fighting near the beast pens. Shou Ping's face was black. Someone had come and stolen all the MO steeds. This had actually occurred under his leadership. Miss hadn't said anything, but Shou Ping was so ashamed he wanted to burrow into a crack in the ground. Nothing had happened to the other yards, only his steeds had been stolen from. Embarrassing. Too embarrassing. The celestial planet guard had been at the bottom of the pack in cultivation. How could the proud Shou Ping tolerate something like this happening? The pitiful celestial planet guards were tormented to death because of a glutton. But the culprit had forgotten about this matter. This is part of your plan? Nanmen Shui stared coldly at the person in front of him. This male shook his head. We did not do this. I do not believe it. Nanmen Shui said coldly, our partnership ends now. I have great doubts about your sincerity. The male's expression was normal. He still shook his head. We did not do this. We had sent people to capture Xiao Mo, but he killed them. The disappearance of his subordinates has nothing to do with us. We are also investigating, but there hasn't been any clues yet. Nanmen Shui stared at the other. Seeing that the other's expression did not change, he believed that the other had not lied. Now all clues point towards me, Nanmen Shui said coldly. Don't tell me you do not have other plans. We do, the male said gravely. We are now sure that Xiao Mo is that crucial person. However, we are not the only ones to realize this. The other people probably also have as well. Nanmen Shui listened silently and did not speak. Right now, everyone is looking at Xiao Mo. As long as we are not targeting Xiao Mo, no one would care about us, the male said calmly. The waters of Great Peace City have started to muddy. He suddenly smiled. They are all staring at Xiao Mo, so we will go find the other key to Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. You know who has the key? Nanmen Shui was shocked. Oh. The male smiled slightly. We have a few targets. Nanmen Shui started at the other and suddenly said, Is there anything I need to do? Of course. The male had a satisfied expression. You are an integral part of our plan. Then he told Nanmen Shui his plan in a lowered voice. Nanmen Shui's eyes were bright as he listened and nodded occasionally. The other's plan was outstanding. However, when the other finished telling him the plan, Nanmen Shui looked at the other and smiled. It is an outstanding plan. However, I want the fire heart gall. The other's brow furrowed. As long as you complete? Nanmen Shui shook his head. I want it now. The other's expression changed slightly. That is not possible. Really? Nanmen Shui smiled and said, Your plan is so exquisite and detailed. If one part goes wrong, the whole plan falls apart. So many steps are related to me, I am a very important pawn. There is no benefit if you go back on your word. You will regret it. The other's face was dark as he gritted out. Fire heart gall or you lose, choose one. Nanmen Shui still smiled. Oh, right, I believe that you can also see that it is not a very easy matter if you want to withdraw from our partnership now. The other's complexion was ashen. Chapter 617, Little Landlord Great Peace Palace. Shi Yu's expression was stern. It was very rare to see such an expression on the normally gentle city master. The atmosphere inside the hall was tense. I know that many people have come to the city for the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion, and I do not care in whose hands it ends up. My teacher once said that everything is up to fate. However, I never thought that even the sword Xiao of Kunlun would infiltrate into Great Peace City. This is a shock to me. Shi Yu's voice echoed in the large hall. Everyone had focused expressions and many showed expressions of shock. Shi Yu was Shi Ziming's student and technically the successor of Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. So, it was a shock to many to hear him be so indifferent about it. Great Peace Treasure Pavilion holds the product of my teacher's lifelong labor. I believe that no one can accept it ending up in the hands of Xiozha. I have invited everyone here today to discuss how to eliminate these xiuzhe that have sneaked into Great Peace City. Here, I have to tell everyone that it isn't just Kunlun that has come into Great Peace City, but all 4 great sects. When the words came out, there was a furor. Everyone had shocked expressions. Great Peace City, it is us Mo's Great Peace City. Great Peace Treasure Pavilion, it is us Mo's Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. Sure Yu's words were like steel. The people agreed and the crowd was furious. The decision was quickly made that the large factions would eliminate the xiuzhe led by Kunlun and the one in command would be Princess Xia. Sure Yu had recommended her and she received support from everyone else. Princess Xia was intelligent and cunning. She herself also represented the Anwei family and was the most suitable commander. An unprecedented mission quietly started. They still hadn't received any news about Wen and the others. This made Zuemo very restless. Darren, Chi Diaoyu asks for a meeting, a subordinate reported. Zuemo stilled. Chi Diaoyu? This guy had come to visit him? He turned to look at Seng Lianer. Seng Lianer shook her head. I don't know. He thought and then said, invite him in. Taking this opportunity, Zuemo asked Pu Yao in the Sea of Consciousness, Pu, what is this guy coming for? Possibly for an alliance, Pu Yao said gravely. No matter what, you do not need to worry. Zuemo thought and found that the words were right. Even if Chi Diaoyu wanted to use force, Zuemo could completely suppress him while in this compound. With Agui and Seng Lianer, the 2 assistants present, adding on himself, there were 3 people. Zuemo did not believe they could not defeat Chi Diaoyu. He glanced at Wei. Ever since Wei saw the gravestone armor last time, he had sunk into silence. Zuemo speculated that Wei was thinking of past events. Or maybe he felt something after encountering one of his kind. Zuemo did not know how to comfort Wei. There was something that Pu Yao was right about. He really didn't have any interest in the gravestone armor. Even though he wasn't clear about what restraints the gravestone armor would place on him, but he was sure that there would be many restraints. He disliked being restricted. He quickly saw Chi Diaoyu. It had to be said that Chi Diaoyu had a very good appearance. With his snowy white robes and extraordinary beauty, his presence was stunning. Brother Chi hasn't changed at all. Zuemo insincerely gave a greeting. I want to make a deal. Chi Diaoyu did not waste a word and headed for the topic. What deal? Zuemo also didn't mince words and asked straight out. Chi Diaoyu looked at Zuemo with star-like eyes. He said briskly, I will help you, and you will give me a copy of the stele inside the treasure pavilion. Now Zuemo was slightly surprised. He looked at the other and asked amusedly, how do you know that I can enter the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion? It is not that you can, but you are the one most likely to, Chi Diaoyu explained. Zuemo understood a bit. He smiled and said, then what can you help me with? I can protect your life, Chi Diaoyu said. Zuemo stared at Chi Diaoyu for a moment and then roared with laughter. Are you joking? Protect me? Can you beat her? He pointed at Seng Lianer who was idly drinking tea by the side. Seng Lianer focused on her tea and didn't even blink as though there was only empty air in front of her. Chi Diaoyu glanced at Seng Lianer. We are evenly matched. Zuemo then pointed at Agui. Agui was also unaffected. At the side, the black gold seal soldier, that glutton, lazily opened his eyes, examined Chi Diaoyu and then closed his eyes with a relaxed expression. Chi Diaoyu's gaze swept the black gold seal soldier. His eyelids flickered. We will be evenly matched. That's it. If you were very powerful, it would be fine if you make such a deal with me. But you don't even have the confidence to beat either of them. Even if I wanted to do business with you, I won't be able to get a good price. Zuemo said with an expression of regret. I already have 2 experts. If one more is added, it can increase my strength, but won't bring me up another level. Also, it is very hard for me to trust you. You are asking for too much, but giving too little. I, Xiao Go, won't do such unprofitable business. I have information. Chi Diaoyu forced himself to remain calm. Zuemo spread his hands. But you are not the only one with that information, while I am the only one. Zuemo said the last phrase meaningfully. Originally, He had wanted to take leave of the brewing storm as quickly as possible. He hadn't expected Wen and the others to disappear and force him to stay in this storm. Ever since he understood he became a key to entering the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion, he perceptively recognized the business potential here. What kind of business was the easiest to profit from? Of course it was the business where you had a monopoly. Zhuo did not have any ambitions about the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. He knew that with so many eyes on them, whoever got the treasures would not be able to live. But he could take the chance to get rich. For those families, they wouldn't have any trouble paying a price to gain some advantages in this fight. So Zhuo unhesitatingly refused Qi Diaoye's initial offer. What kind of joke was this? If his first transaction was so cheap, then the next customers definitely wouldn't give higher offers. Zhuo seemed to have an instinctive obsession towards the pursuit of profit. Qi Diaoyu was silent. The reason he had come to find Zhuo today was that he detected this fight was becoming more cruel. He was just one person and couldn't affect the overall situation, so he thought of finding Zhuo to work together. He hadn't thought that Zhuo was more clever than he expected. There was a gentle and harmless smile on Zhuo's face. When you have a suitable offer, you can come find me. Qi Diaoyu glanced at Zhuo and left without a word. Zhuo smiled as he watched Qi Diaoyu leave. He knew that the news that Qi Diaoyu came here would spread over Great Peace City very soon. By that time, there would be even more customers. He really anticipated it. Zhuo looked at the beautiful Princess Xia in front of him and grimaced. How come it is you? Why can't it be me? Princess Xia rolled her eyes. The unconscious flirtatious look would cause people's hearts to speed up. As Zhuo resisted the illusory art, he continued to grimace and said, I was waiting for the others to come, and bleed them for a lot. Ha! Princess Xia laughed so hard her shoulders curled. Her finger pointed at Zhuo. You are so bad. So bad. Zhuo said with a serious expression. This is such a good chance. If I miss it, the heavens will strike me with lightning. Princess Xia laughed so much her hair dislodged from her hairdo. She panted slightly, which added a hint of mature seductiveness. She brushed the hair that had fallen down on her forehead and said with a smile, Don't you have any ideas about the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion? That is a matter for the big landlords to play with. I can't afford to play. Zhuo said with a matter-of-fact expression. It is not worth it to lose my little life over that. A strange look flashed through Princess Xia's eyes. You see it clearly. Zhuo said smugly, Of course. It would be unprofitable if I don't take the chance to make some more. But then his expression dropped. But since you came, I cannot do that. I owe you a favor from last time. I can't do that to you. Princess Xia smiled mischievously. I can't bear to use the favor for something like this. Then she copied Zhuo's tone. It would be unprofitable. Zhuo laughed. Why did you recommend me? Princess Xia suddenly asked something completely unrelated. Recommend you? Zhuo stilled. Don't play dumb, Princess Xia said. City Master told me that you recommended me to him. Oh, that? Zhuo realized. Because you are very strong. He added inside, especially in illusory arts. Strong? Princess Xia smiled. In your mind I am such a schemer? Zhuo scratched. I just felt that you are relatively smart. Then he couldn't help say, you definitely have to take those Kunluan people down. Don't let them escape. With your personality, you wouldn't chase after them like this. It seems that they have offended you greatly. There definitely is something else. Princess Xia looked smilingly at Zhuo's heart shook. This woman was too smart. He had to be careful. He could only play dumb. The two talked about various topics. Princess Xia had extraordinary knowledge. Other than the illusory arts that were automatically cast which made it difficult, it was very pleasurable to talk with her. However, Zhuo didn't dare to drink this time. The Anwei family is very interested in you. Finishing, she took out Mo weapon and placed it in front of Zhuo. This Mo weapon was a short dagger axe. It was completely red and at the horizontal blade, there was a black eye. It caused the entire weapon to seem eerie. This crow-eye dagger axe was forged from the beak of a black fire crow mo through hundreds of years of refining. It is very powerful and a top-notch Missouri weapon. Your mo skill is fire type and this is suitable for you. How about it? Are you satisfied? Mo picked up the crow-eye dagger axe. Immediately, a vicious and vast presence passed from the dagger axe to his hand. He couldn't help but exclaim, "A good mo weapon. This is a meeting gift from the Anwei family, you do not need to return it." Princess Xia blinked her eyes at Zuemo and giggled. With it as a good starting point, don't be kind when you bargain. Finishing, she waved at Zuemo and left. Zuemo was speechless. Chapter 618, Activation. Zuemo's business was open. Ever since Princess Xia's visit, Zuemo's estate had become a popular place. The families that thought themselves possessing some power all offered olive branches to Zuemo. All kinds of mo weapons, all kinds of rare treasures, and some families were so generous as to even give Jie to Zuemo. Zuemo accepted them all. He was profusely grateful in words but did not mention anything else. These factions did not mention it either. This was just them feeling out the road. Zuemo was something rare but nothing had started at this time. It was not the time for them to truly give their prices. As to these things, they were nothing to these large and powerful factions. Inside the estate, the gifts piled up in a mountain. There were many precious treasures but Zuemo was not very happy. There was no news yet of a Wen and the others. They seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Zuemo had practically asked all the factions in Great Peace City but hadn't found anything. Luo Li Shidi was still in seclusion. Zuemo was very worried about his condition. Sometimes, there would be a thread of life, but most of the time, there wasn't any vitality. The state of affairs in Great Peace City was complex. Even Zuemo could not predict which way it would develop. He was something rare and desired. In other words, everyone knew him. There were countless pairs of eyes staring at him openly and from the shadows. With the slightest misstep, he would die. What he was most worried about were a Wen and the others. This mastermind was able to remain so composed and it put great pressure on Zuemo. He could only wait patiently. Other than waiting, there wasn't anything more he could do. Every day, he had to suppress the restlessness he felt, be patient, and cultivate. Yet at this time, an invitation from City Master Shi was delivered to him. When Zuemo arrived at a room hidden deep in the Great Peace Palace, there were already 8 people inside. The people greeted him when they saw him. Right now, everyone in Great Peace City knew that Zuemo was a person important to the opening of Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. All the families hoped to develop a closer relationship with him and had friendlier smiles. Shi Yu, Chang Yuan Hao, Yu Shuang, Princess Xia and the others were among those present. Moments later, more people came in. About an hour later, the room closed up. Zuemo looked around and inhaled in shock. This room contained almost all the important personages in Great Peace City. What was happening? Zuemo thought inside. The first to speak was Shi Yui. I have invited everyone today because we have intelligence on the Xiozha in Great Peace City. Then Princess Xia stood and bowed to the crowd. She said, those Xiozha are very well disguised. If it wasn't that they first lost to Mr. Xiao, it would really have been difficult to detect them. We secretly sent people to investigate all recent newcomers to the city and finally had a result today. However, there is trouble. Many of them are still hidden, and our investigations have already attracted their attention. The room was very quiet. The people present were all leaders and naturally could hold their composure. Princess Xia wasn't timid at all. She was at ease and her seductive eyes now flashed with an intelligent light. I suspect that Xiozha sects like Kunlun probably had spies in Great Peace City a long time ago. Otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence that they knew that the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion is about to appear? These Xiozha still won't give up on eliminating us. Yu Shuang shorted coldly, his expression frosty. Princess Xia smiled and brimmed with strong confidence. Elder Yu is right, and we shall give them a memorable lesson. Princess, tell us what arrangements you have. On this matter, there is no reason for us to refuse. One person shouted. The others all agreed. Princess Xia's eyes turned. This plan requires the support of Mr. Xiao in order to proceed. Me? Zuemo pointed at his nose and looked dazedly at Princess Xia. Princess Xia blinked her eyes at him. You are not kind to drag me into this. Inside Princess Xia's residence, Zuemo waved his arms around in displeasure. Princess Xia was smiling in front of him. However, aren't you the person with the greatest grievance against Kunlun? How can this be called pulling you under the water? Princess Xia said innocently. Mirth flowed deep in her eyes. Zuemo was unable to form words. He had been the one urging this matter. Princess Xia was correct. But this completely disrupted his previous plans. He had originally wanted to help urge this matter forward and strike at Kunlun using the MO. But now, it became him going forward to give Kunlun a blow. How could he remain calm? Yes, he had a grievance against Kunlun. But if he went to make trouble for the other before he was strong enough, that was just throwing meat buns at the dogs. Zuemo knew just how vicious Kunlun would be. Great Peace City was full of experts, but no one had the certainty of victory when facing Kunlun's experts. The Xiuzhe were stronger than the Yaoma, and Kunlun was the most powerful sect in the Xiuzhe realm. In other words, Kunlun was the strongest sect in the world. The other three great sects were also terrifying titans. Facing the experts sent by the four great sects, other than having an advantage in numbers and being in their territory, the MO didn't have any other advantages. This would be a hard battle. Zuemo was able to imagine the ferocity of this battle. He could feel it even in his toes. If he wasn't careful, his little life would end. This was also why he wanted to borrow a blade to kill someone rather than going for it himself. Yet what he had never expected was that Princess Xia had put the most important step of the plan onto his shoulders. This almost caused him to spit blood. If this was someone else, Zuemo would want to kill them. Almost as though she saw Zuemo's concerns, Princess Xia comforted, "Do not worry, no one would let you die. You are very valuable right now. You did not see those people. They wanted to shove all their guards at you." Zuemo's expression almost seemed to cry. "Don't force me in like this, I only have one life." Princess Xia burst into laughter. "As expected, you are cowardly and afraid of death. Adding on your shamelessness, you cannot be saved." Yes. Zuemo's head bobbed like a chick eating rice. "I'm afraid of death. Very afraid. Princess Darren, please spare me. You truly want to pass upon a chance to capture them all in one go?" Princess Xia looked wryly at Zuemo. "For you, I borrowed Exen and Wan's guards. They are all very powerful experts. Even Chidiao Yu agreed to help." Zuemo's mind shifted upon hearing this. He thought of Princess Xin's guard, Xia, and Princess Wan's butler, Juku. These two were of unfathomable power. Nothing had to be said more of Chidiao Yu's power. He was a top power in Great Peace City. Adding on Chang Yuanhao and Yu Shuang, the team was pretty terrifying, and it should be enough to deal with Kunlun. If this was another time, it would not be an easy matter to gather so many experts together. Zuemo gritted his teeth. "But," Princess Xia said smilingly, "you really have a deep grudge against Kunlun." Zuemo was silent. He had to be even more careful when he spoke to this woman. However, he could feel that Princess Xia did not have malicious intentions, so he said honestly, "Yes, deep, bloody grudge." Princess Xia was a little shocked, before smiling. She said gently, "Then you won't regret it." "I hope so." Zuemo turned his face around. "How should I start?" Entering the Great Peace MO skill steals again. For some unknown reason, Zuemo felt slightly emotional. This period of time had been like a dream, and too many things had happened. He didn't even have the time to sort out his thoughts. The events came one after the next, and he didn't even have a chance to breathe. How were one and the others now? Zuemo's mind was heavy as he slowly walked between the steels. He was in a dispirited mood. Today, there were many people visiting the Great Peace MO steels. Ever since the news of the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion had spread, the number of people that were headed towards Great Peace MO steels had multiplied. Everyone wanted to find clues to the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion from these stone steels. As he thought, without realizing it, Zuo went deep into the steel forest. There were not many roaming around here. This was the deepest part of the steel forest. Every steel here was cryptic and profound. If one did not reach the stage, it would be indecipherable. Even the people that copied down the Great Peace steels were too lazy to copy down all the contents here because for most people, they would never need such profound content their entire life. Ever since having an epiphany here, Zuo had never come to the steel forest again. Walking here today, he started to browse these stone steels. The content on the stone steels was not unfamiliar to him. He had a complete copy of the Great Peace steel writings and had memorized the content. He did not understand all of it. He was just at the edge of domain, and there was still a long way off from reaching the peak of general. A lot of the content was very profound to him. Seeing the time was still early, he found a random stone stele and started to read phrase by phrase. Unconsciously, he immersed himself. What this stone stele was talking about was domain. Shi Ziming had his own understanding of domain. Zuo seemed to see an old man talking enthusiastically in front of him. His body was so weak and withered that a wind could blow him over, but those eyes were unusually dark and bright. A moment later, Zuo gradually recovered and everything returned to normal. The stone stele was silent. Where was the old man? Zuo laughed. He had been too immersed, so much that he was seeing illusions. However, when he noticed the darkened sky and the surroundings, he found it was terrible. Not good. He had been too focused and forgot what he had come to do. A round silver ball appeared on his hand. There seemed to be a layer of light flowing around the silver ball. This silver ball was the most important part of the mission this time. He was about to crush the silver ball on his hand when he saw a row of characters on a stone stele out of the corner of his eye. He froze as though someone cast a body paralysis curse on him. He stood there motionless. Chapter 619, World. What is he doing over there? Lan Rong couldn't help asking. Lan Tianlong was also slightly confused. He looked at Zuo that was in a daze between the steels and said uncertainly, "Did he drink today?" He probably wouldn't have. Such an important event today. Lan Rong's expression was slightly ugly. He suddenly recalled what had happened after Zuo had got drunk at the Great Peace Palace last time, and the rest of his words faded. The two Lan brothers looked at each other with strange expressions. Behind them, a smile came onto Princess Xia's face. She turned and ordered, "Tell them, pay attention to what is happening." A servant silently left. Xiao Imogu is young, but he can keep his composure. Yu Shuang couldn't resist praising. Princess Xia brushed away some locks of hair on her forehead and smiled. One that isn't composed cannot lure out those Xiozha. They have come in alone, and it is shocking how long they have prepared for this. There probably are many of them in Great Peace City. If we are not careful, our plan will fail. Yu Shuang smiled and said, "Princess Xia is peerless. Even I would fall for this. City Master Shi is probably stirring them into an uproar right now." In Princess Xia's plan, Shi Yui would gather the major factions inside the city today to discuss how to deal with the Xiozha. He would make a big furor and gather all the factions inside Great Peace City. However, the true experts would be hidden near the Great Peace steels. The bait for the entire plan was Zuo. Any faction with some power knew that Zuo was a crucial piece of how to get into the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. Even though no one knew the reason, there were countless eyes that stared at every action Zuo made. The Xiozha would definitely be paying attention as well. He quietly appeared at the steel forest and pretended to appear as though he was searching. If these experts did not know Princess Xia's plan beforehand, they would definitely think that Zuo was searching for the entrance to the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. He also lingered for a whole afternoon and had waited long enough for the Xiozha to gather. Zuo had a star-luring ball. This star-luring ball was one personally made by Shi Yui. It only had one use: it could cause one star to fall from the sky. There would be great noise, and the MO matrices inside the Great Peace MO steel would activate at the same time to create an illusion the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion was about to appear. This was the bait to lure the Xianxia. Princess Xia gave the Xianxia a dilemma. If they were slightly hesitant, they would lose the opportunity. Even if the Xianxia knew this was a trap, would they gamble on it? This was actually a psychological battle. What Princess Xia gambled was that even though the Xianxia had sent people in before this, the spies of the Xianxia would not be able to penetrate the upper ranks of major MO families. Only a few knew of this plan. Those that knew were the leaders of each clan. It was very unlikely for people like this to be spies for the Xianxia. They were coming in alone, and without sufficient intelligence. Facing such a realistic trap, there wasn't much room for the Xianxia to choose. Princess Xia wanted to use this plan to get all the Xianxia in one swoop. The place that they were hiding was very hidden and at the edge of the steel forest. This was the place where the Anwei family usually spied from. For this mission, Princess Xia really paid a great price. The plan was not complex, but all the elders praised it. If it was them, there was a high possibility that they would also be fooled. This is because of the support from all the elders, Princess Xia said with a smile. Chang Yuan Hao suddenly moved forward a few steps. At the same time, a strange look flashed across Yu Shuang's eyes. Everyone's gaze moved towards Zhuo Mo inside the steel forest. Qi Diaoye's expression changed slightly as his eyes lit up. He stared hard at Zhuo Mo. The blurry figure in the distance suddenly emanated an indescribable feeling of danger. This guy? What was going on? When consciousness and Ling power reach an extreme depth of the body, the world will reappear. The short phrase placed in the corner of the steel was not eye-catching at all. This stone steel was discussing the three powers, and this phrase was not something attention-catching among the text. However, what attracted Zhuo Mo's attention was the word world in this phrase. This word was in a different writing than all the other steel text, as though someone had written it on the steel with a finger. Zhuo Mo had browsed through almost all the MO skill steels. All of the content on the steels had used the same style of writing and were exquisitely carved. If one did not notice the word world, they would have missed it. Even if one noticed, they would have thought that someone had made a mistake when engraving the steel and then corrected it. But when Zhuo Mo noticed the strangeness of this part, he froze where he stood. Because he understood this phrase. When consciousness and Ling power reach an extreme depth of the body, he had used this technique when he had modified the MO matrices for Bi Han's Sin Battalion. When consciousness and Ling power reach deep into the body, the world would truly become different. He would enter a wondrous state where he was calm and emotionless. Truthfully, Zhuo Mo did not like this state, but this state gave him the feeling of being inhuman. He was like a puppet that did not have life or emotion. He would be precise, but without any spirit. When world was put into this phrase, it caused his mind to shift. Did this world have another meaning? Zhuo Mo thought for a moment and then decided to try it. He channeled and the suns of the 10 Crow celestial apparatus lit up. His consciousness and Ling power continuously moved deeper into his body. His mind started to become cold, his emotions seemed to be bared in an extreme environment without any warmth. His eyes became cold and indifferent, his emotions quickly disappearing. A thin layer of gold light appeared, but there was also a hint of white. A new world appeared in front of him. Countless half-transparent lines crisscrossed between the stone steels. The entire steel forest was like a cage made from countless lines of light. The stunning scene in front of Zhuo Mo did not cause any change in emotions. He moved his head, his eyes were emotionless as he looked at the surroundings. A faint handprint appeared on some of the stone steels. The stone steels which had handprints were the stone steels where the most threads intersected. He did not pause. He walked in front of a stone steel and pressed his hand on the faint handprint on the stone steel. An extremely light tremor came to his hand as though there was a tremble very deep in the earth. It was unusually small. If Zhuo Mo wasn't in this state, he definitely would not have detected it. Zhuo Mo could accurately capture every ripple. The ripples had a unique rhythm. In this state, Zhuo Mo's MO skill was at its maximum. Without even thinking about it, the muscles in his hands trembled and responded to the stone steel with the same rhythm. The trembling of the stone steel suddenly stopped. In Zhuamo's eyes, it suddenly became bright. Countless streaks of light flowed into the other steels along the half-transparent lines like water flowing outwards. Zhuamo's expression was indifferent as he appeared in front of another stone steel which had a handprint. Those inside cannot send anything out? A shitty next to Lin Qian shook his head. He tried his best to communicate with Eyes, but there hadn't been any results. Eyes had been summoned to Great Peace City to discuss how to deal with the Xiozha. But the Great Peace Palace was blocked off from all communication with the outside. They could not pass any messages out. It seems that these MO are not stupid, another shitty said with a smile. He smirked coldly and said, trying to redirect our attention so crudely like this, they really underestimate us? Lin Qian's eyes were suspicious. He suspected this could possibly be a trap. All of their information was supposedly broadcast by Xiao Emogu. They had learned that the mysterious woman they had fought with when they entered the city had been Xiao Emogu's personal maid. Fei Fei probably lost his life when he entered the other's residence. No matter from what angle, Xiao Emogu had enough reasons to want to deal with them. It wasn't as though it was unlikely for him to plan such a trap. But what surprised Lin Qian was what happened when he saw Xiao Emogu the first time. This was the first time he saw Xiao Emogu, even though he had heard this name countless times before. In the report from Eyes, Xiao Emogu was a crucial part of opening the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. He had caused the shifting star sands, defeated Xin Yu who had comprehended the Peacock King Plume, obtained the reversed stellar revolution, reached the edge of domain, and was a genius youth that had recently attracted attention in Great Peace City. Lin Qin was the first-ranked disciple among the third-generation disciples of Kunlun. He knew more than most people. He noticed that Xiao Emogu's name had also appeared in the intelligence reports from the Yao. It had also been a youth called Xiao Emogu who was a young battle general that defeated Gold Battle General Corps Commander Yu Heng, completed a prison-breaking battle, and astounded the Yao realm. He suspected that these two were the same person. If they really were the same person, then it was frightening. Such a monstrous person would be rare even in Kunlun, which was full of geniuses. So the moment that he saw Xiao Emogu's name from Eyes report, Lin Qian decided, no matter what, he had to kill this person. When he thought about the consequences a person with such potential in the Yaoma camp would bring, he couldn't restrain his murderousness. But when he saw Xiao Emogu, he was very shocked, because he felt a strange sense of familiarity from Xiao Emogu. He was sure he had never seen this face before, but this sense of familiarity was so clear. He had definitely interacted with Xiao Emogu before. When a person reached cultivation of his level, a wrong feeling would almost never appear. The sword essence he cultivated was profound and he knew that his sword heart would not lie to him. Yet when he thought it over in his mind, he could not understand where he had seen Xiao Emogu before. It was a pity there was no time. Lin Qian sighed inwardly. If he was meditating, and his sword heart was clear, he would definitely identify the other. He quickly threw the stray thoughts to the back of his mind. He looked at Zhuemo with a sword-sharp gaze. Suddenly his expression changed. In his eyes, Xiao Emogu's presence suddenly changed dramatically. In Lin Qian's eyes, Xiao Emogu was like a Emo puppet, empty and cold. Lin Qian was shocked and suspicious. Then he saw Xiao Emogu reach for a stone steel. A moment later, Lin Qian's expression changed drastically. There was movement deep within the earth. Chapter 620, Lie Becoming Truth. This place is quite ghastly. Ming Juzi muttered. They had been trapped for so many days and still hadn't found the exit. The Black Smoke Yao said with self-recrimination, "It is all my fault. If it wasn't for me, Old Black, that's all right, this might be our good fortune." Nan Yu hurriedly comforted the Black Smoke Yao. "There are many people outside that want to come in, they wouldn't expect that we got ahead of them." Song Zhe added with a smile, "Old Black, think hard. We are putting our hopes on you to find the treasures." Awen was slightly worried. There is no way to enter the 10-finger prison from here. Darren would definitely have gone there to look for us. Everyone was silent. The orange-haired Yao spoke up. Don't worry, he is loyal, he won't abandon us. Worst case, we will find a few more treasures and give him a few. Where are there any treasures? Ming Juzi looked around and said dispiritedly. This place is dark, and I doubt we are even in the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. We've been searching around for so long and still haven't found the exit. That day, the Black Smoke Yao had made a discovery and came excitedly to find them. They had gone in search following the clues, and hadn't expected to fall into a maze that was pitch black. The maze was dark and didn't have anything. However, the paths were complex and intercrossed like a spider web. They had been searching for the exit for the past few days but hadn't made any progress. We are below the Mo skill steals. Is there another place here except the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion? Song Ze's expression was puzzled. Who knows? The orange-haired Yao said carelessly. That old man has been dead for so many years. Do not be disrespectful to Grandmaster Shi Ziming. Awen glared at the orange-haired Yao. We have benefited from him these past days. If not for the Grandmaster, where would these Mo skill steals come from? The orange-haired Yao was not angry and muttered, I didn't say that he wasn't good, but if he is a good person, he should be good to the end. He engraved the Mo skill steals, and he should give us some treasures as well. Then he would be a good person. A very good person. Oh, don't worry, I won't take them all. The other people were used to the orange-haired Yao's casual and thoughtless words. Everyone laughed. The Black Smoke Yao's brow was tightly furrowed. Ever since they had dropped into this pitch-black maze, he had been thinking of ways to get out. It was because of him that everyone had ended up in this predicament. Even though no one blamed him, he could not forgive himself. Fortunately, there weren't any dangers in the maze, so they were not very nervous. Ever since they entered the maze, the Black Smoke Yao had been pondering why there would be a maze under the Mo skill steals. He believed that a person like Shi Ziming would have his own reasons for doing every single thing. This maze would definitely have another purpose. If that was the case, it should have an exit. His spirit consciousness spread out as he carefully searched the surroundings. In such a dark environment, the consciousness was much more useful than the eyes. Suddenly, his consciousness swept a rock and he abruptly stopped moving. Wait! Everyone stopped warily. What is it? Nanyu asked. We passed by this rock yesterday. The Black Smoke Yao crouched down and picked up a rock by his foot. His tone was unusually certain. It is this one, I remember it clearly. Have we been going in circles all this time? Nanyu was slightly shocked. Very possible. The Black Smoke Yao raised his head to look up. We might just be wandering in circles below the Mo skill steals. Then he said to himself, so this is a recursive maze. The path we pick each time is different, but we are still going in circles. All paths lead to one. Oh, I understand. He suddenly moved his gaze and said to the orange-haired Yao. Big Orange, hit the ground a few times. The orange-haired Yao immediately became energized. He had been suffocated these past few days. He rolled up his sleeves. No problem. How big of a hole? I will show you guys a new Yao art that I comprehended recently. It is the best at making holes. If you want a circle, I won't give you a square. If you want 3 zhang, I won't make it 5 zhang. Ooh, do you want something slightly more difficult? Flower shape? Too common. Or maybe a portrait? Nan Yu and the others were speechless. But Awen was excited. Such a powerful Yao art? How about we compete? I recently comprehended some things as well. The orange-haired Yao was excited and hurriedly ran in front of Awen. All right, let's compete. Let's make a portrait. All right. Awen was excited as well. 5 zhang deep is good. But everyone disregarded the Black Smoke Yao's weak voice. Everyone's attentions were put on these two that were going to make portraits. Nothing more had to be said about Awen's talent. The orange-haired Yao appeared absent-minded and slightly odd, but his talent in the Yao arts was usually unexpected. He could always make some strange and weird Yao arts. Who do you think will win? Ming Juzi was full of interest. Nan Yu said, When Song Zhe hesitated and said, Big orange. Ming Ju Zi looked at the black smoke Yao. The black smoke Yao said helplessly, Big orange? Ming Ju Zi snickered. I favor a 1 2-on-2. The orange-haired Yao postured as though he was an expert, hand palm up. He beckoned at a 1. Young man, I will not go easy on you. However, young man, your life will become more complete after losing to this loyal orange-haired Yao. Owen stared back, not backing down. Come on. Red-haired monster, let me show you what the first expert of guard camp is like. Looking at Zhuomo's ghostly figure and indifferent expression, everyone felt danger that could not be pushed away. Every one of them had grave expressions. Those present were all experts and naturally could see the change in Zhuomo. Princess Xia's lips were tightly pressed together and her expression changed slightly. Xiao Mo Gu in the distance seemed to have changed into a completely new person that she felt extremely unfamiliar with. However, she quickly suppressed the stray thoughts in her mind. Xiao Mo Gu was the crucial part of the entire plan. His change would affect the plan hugely. Up until now, Xiao Mo Gu had not used the star-luring Mo bead in his hand, and he was moving in ways that people did not understand. Princess Xia suddenly had a realization. Xiao Mo Gu had found the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. Once this thought appeared, her expression became ashen. Her previous plan had been to create an illusion that the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion was about to appear in order to lure the Xiozhi out. She had never thought the act would become truth. Once the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion appeared, the entire plan would be full of flaws. The morale of the Xiozhi would be at their highest and their counterattack would be unusually fierce. On the opposite side, the MO experts would be targeting the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion, so they would each have their own plans. The alliance would fall apart. Under such circumstances, the plan that had been flawless would become a mess. At that time, this place would become a melee battle. Melee battles were the most advantageous for the Xiozhi. What worried her even more was Xiao Mo Gu, who would be at the center of the melee battle, would be placed in the most dangerous situation. Her expression quickly recovered and she said indifferently, The Great Peace Treasure Pavilion is about to open. The plan has changed. Everyone charge in and keep the Xiozhi out. Princess Xia's words caused everyone to shake. They looked in disbelief at Princess Xia. Their attention had been on Xiao Mo Gu's transformation. While they had felt that his actions were slightly strange, no one had connected them to the Great Peace Treasure Pavilion. Princess Xia's gaze flashed across the pairs of eyes that had started to burn. She combed her hair and smiled. Everyone, be careful of Xiao Mo Gu's safety. If those Xiozhi want to act against Xiao Mo Gu because they are unable to get the treasures, they might ruin this for all of us and then we won't have anything. He is still useful now, and at such an important time, I hope that the elders present will not hold anything back. Everyone's gazes met and then moved away. Yu Shuang stood up and said with a smile, We need to show something to these Xiozhi. Otherwise, they will think that there are none capable among us. They dare to come and go as they wish. Do they think this is their backyard? The other people also rose. Chang Yuan Hao and Yu Shuang walked together. The guards led by Xia protected Princess Xian and the guards led by Zhu Ku protected Princess Wan. Qi Diaoyu was moving by himself. In a flash, the alliance fell apart and each camp was clearly divided. You have intentions about him? The middle-aged attendant beside Princess Xia suddenly spoke. Princess Xia glanced at her and asked back, What do you feel? Then why are you helping him? The middle-aged attendant stared at Princess Xia and said coldly, You know very well that if you enter this conflict, you will have nothing to do with him anymore. Princess Xia smiled slyly. Don't you feel that it is to our advantage to direct their attention towards Xiao Mo Gu? The middle-aged attendant's expression eased slightly. She said coldly, Don't do anything stupid. Princess Xia seemed to not hear it. She raised her head to look at Xiao Mo Gu that was reaching towards a stone stele and suddenly said, You just couldn't wait. The middle-aged attendant's expression froze. The stele in front of him was the last Mo skill stele that had a handprint. The half-transparent thin threads in his vision were as bright as rays of light. Ripples moved along these crisscrossing lines like waves against the shore that came from all directions towards this stone steel. The moment that Zhuomo's palm came into contact with this steel, a strong vibration pulsed from the stone steel. Even the ground under his feet seemed to be violently shaking. There seemed to be an ancient being which was suppressed here that seemed to shift. Zhuomo's expression was cold and indifferent, void of all expression. In response to the enormous tremors that came from the stone steel, the muscles on Zhuomo's plan were quickly vibration at an astounding rate. At this moment, all lights stopped simultaneously. But in the next second, the lights that had paused seemed to be startled away and then redirected towards the steel from all directions. Boom! A ray of white light suddenly came out of the stone steel. Like a ruler-straight sword of light, it pierced the sky and entered the void. The white light was like a burning flame that moved towards all directions. In a flash, all of the MO skill steels released a fierce white light. The ground was trembling fiercely, all of Great Peace City was trembling. Great fissures started to appear on the ground around the steel forest. Then the steel forest started to slowly rise. Boom, boom, boom. The steel forest that was covered in rays of light slowly rose. There seemed to be an enormous beast underneath it that was pushing it up. That blinding ray of white light was like a rope that was pulling the steel forest up. And beside that ray of light, a cold and indifferent figure gazed down at the ground under the white light. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.